Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. You guys all saw the fight. It was a one-sided fight. That's what we all predicted. We came in here, I think 80% of you chose Jon Jones. Guys, it's a really tough bet to bet against Jon Jones. I'm not going to go through every exchange. Look, it started really bad for Stipe. It ended really bad for Stipe. Round one, it looked like he was going to be cooked. He got taken down. He was getting elbowed. He was taken down with ease. He was getting beat up bad. I thought he wasn't going to get out of the first round. And guess what? He did. And so what? Not much else happened. It was a one-way fight. It was one-way traffic the whole way. Two back kicks were landed. One of them folded Stipe. Jon Jones was like, I hit the liver. Rogan's like, no, it's actually on the other side, the liver. He was mistaken. He did hit him in the liver once, but the kick that folded him in half actually wasn't in the liver. It was on the other side. And still, though, it was so powerful. It folded him in half. Jon gets on top of him, puts on the finishing touches. Guys, none of us were super excited about this fight. Why? You know the exciting fights? You know what's an exciting fight? When you look in the red corner and you're like, that guy's a killer. Nobody could beat that guy. Then you look in the blue corner and you're like, wow, that guy's a killer. Nobody could beat that guy. And then the referee's like, fight. And it's like, wow, which one of these two guys is going to win? However, when we're all looking at this corner, we're like, that guy's going to eat that man alive. That guy's a sitting duck. It's not as exciting, you know. And especially when there's a world title on the line. Now, everybody's going to ask me about Aspinall. Guys, I don't think Jon Jones is going to fight Aspinall. There was once upon a time I thought he would and he could win. But now I went over Aspinall's fights and I'm thinking, this is the man who could beat Jon Jones at heavyweight. This is going to be a dangerous fight. Jon is not crazy. Jon is going to go down to fight Pereira. But I don't think the UFC gives him Pereira. I don't think so. He has to fight Aspinall or nothing. I don't think the UFC wants Jon Jones to beat Alexander Pereira, which I think he would. He would crush Pereira. He would crush him. He would take him down. He would chew him up. He would spit him out. He would beat him. I don't think the UFC wants that. I think they're going to protect Pereira. Why? Because we've seen Jon Jones. Jon Jones has sold as many pay-per-views as he's gonna do. That's it. It's a new time to have Pereira, a guy who finishes people, a guy who's super exciting, a guy who fights very frequently. What is the UFC going to do with Jon Jones? What is Jon Jones going to accept? Guys, don't forget to use promo code LEVELUP50 off. It's on the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. Go to jujiclub.com. Get anything you want off. 50% off, guys. Make sure to get strong and stable knees for life. It's a life-changing video. Bulletproof your knees. Make your knees super, super strong and resilient. I can't stand seeing another guy pop his knee, break his knee. It's a life-changing video, guys. It's going to teach you how to exercise properly. It's going to teach you how to neutralize your back, your shoulders, your neck, but especially the knees. It's going to help you how to work your knees. It's an incredible video, I promise you. It's a life-changing video. Okay, guys, with that said, don't forget also, if you want to train at TriStar Gym, make sure to come visit me at the TriStar Gym. You could stay at the dorms. The dorms is now up on your screen. It's tsdorms@gmail.com. Write them an email. Tell them how long you want to stay. Tell them what accommodations you'd like, and they will send you a quote and come do your next training camp at TriStar. Okay, guys, I'm doing always super chats and non-super chats. I'm not going to stay on this fight for long because it's what we expected it to be. A one-way fight. It was one-way traffic the whole way. Stipe never got anything off. He never hurt Jon, never had Jon in trouble. He never got Jon in a bad position. He never established any type of dominance whatsoever. After the performance, I think people will be shocked how easily Tom beats Jon if they ever fight. First or second round finish. Too fast, too big. That's from Sean Kovarik. Sean, I think you're very right. I think he could be the man who beats Jon Jones and finishes Jon Jones. I don't think anybody could last more than 2 rounds with Aspinall. Nobody in the world. Now, pound for pound, that would be a different story. But the fact that he's the biggest man the biggest, strongest guy in the world, heavyweight, I don't know if anybody could ever beat him. A lot of people are saying Miocic is the greatest heavyweight of all time. No, he's not. Okay, he was a great heavyweight. He was the greatest heavyweight of all time. Then Ngannou dethroned him. Ngannou proved to be the greatest heavyweight of all time. And now, in my mind, unofficially, of course, it's Tom Aspinall, the greatest heavyweight of all time. I don't think John beats him. Honestly, I don't think. Especially the way he's ducking him, the way I see he doesn't want to fight him. Very unlike John Jones. Very much unlike John Jones. But also, John is winding down his career. He's probably not interested in training, for a mega fight like that. It's probably just too risky. Very possible he gets his lights put out. Aspinall does have an awkward style. Aspinall is a very dangerous guy. If you review his fights, it's actually incredibly impressive. I don't think anybody beats him. Not for the near future. Nobody beats Aspinall. Forget John Jones or anybody. Miocic, Ngannou, any of them. Nobody beats him. Okay, guys, let's talk about also Bronx versus Michael Chandler. Guys, what can I say? Oliveira, he's improved, man. He looked amazing. He out-wrestled Michael Chandler. That was very shocking. Like, I thought it was going to be a barn burner, and it was. I thought it was going to be, the Wild Wild West in that octagon, that fight, and it was. It was a lot of back and forth. It was seesaw in the fourth round, but everything else, other than the fourth round, or I think it was the fifth. No, it was the fourth. I believe it was the fourth. Michael Chandler finally got on top. He finally started doing some damage. It actually looked like he could finish the fight. He was hitting Oliveira with these hammer fists. A lot of them were hitting behind the head. I mean, so many people were complaining. Michael's holding the fence more than once. Michael's poking. Michael's scratching. Michael's hitting his opponent behind the head. Still, it was a dominant win by Oliveira. We got to see Michael Chandler slam Oliveira twice from a piggyback ride. He had him on his back, backpacked, slammed him, got back up, slammed him. It was quite a wild night, and we all expected that to be a wild fight. But nonetheless, what I was really impressed with is how much Oliveira's improved, and especially in the wrestling. From round one, he was taking him down. Round two, taking him down. Just kept taking him down at will. Very, very impressive. What can I say, guys? I was very, very impressed with Oliveira. I think he's going to climb his way back to a title shot. It is very, very possible. After that performance, it is incredibly likely. Do you think gi is safer than no gi for older guys? That's from Ron B. Guys, I'm going to move on from these fights, okay? Because I'll talk about these fights, no problem, but I'm not going to be as strict as I usually am. Usually, it's like only the fights. Now, let's open it up to Ask Me Anything. The fight was one-sided beatdown. It wasn't as exciting as we thought. Nobody expected it to be a seesaw battle, okay? It was just a one-way traffic. John Jones did it all. And the Oliveira fight, even though it was more one-sided, it was still exciting. It was still great, especially with Chandler's backpack slams. It was quite crazy. Do you think gi is safer for no gi? Is safer than no gi? Excuse me. Do you think gi is safer than no gi for older guys? No, I don't think it's safer. I don't think it's necessarily safer. No. I think older guys just have to learn how to train. You just want to. You want to work within a margin of safety. You want to have a playful spar. You want to play around. You got to yield a little bit. You got to learn. Let's say you're a blue belt and you're going with a black belt. Like, don't try to match the black belt's pace and try to like claw at him. No, just kind of like do your best, but yield sometimes so your arm doesn't get broken. Yield sometimes so your neck doesn't get crunched. And you got to learn how to yield a little bit, because if you fight too hard, that's when you get hurt. Okay, you got to yield. You got to try to use a more technical approach. As you get more and more technical, you're less likely to get hurt. Okay, who are the guys that get hurt? The guys who get hurt are they're trying something that's not technical. They're trying to grab the guy and wrench him off their body, and they sprain their back or they sprain their neck. Like they're in this horrible pin, and then they're trying to buck out. You're hurting yourself. The guy's applying a lot of pressure to your body. He's got you pinned in every direction, and you're trying to bridge against your own joints. Usually people injure themselves. They do crazy stuff. The less experienced guys, they injure themselves and they injure their partners. Why? They're elbowing, they're clawing, they're clubbing, they're grabbing in the wrong areas, and they're like, it's like, dude, you got to calm down. You really got to calm the mind down, because they're trying too hard. They're trying to win. Don't try to win. If you're a lower belt, don't try to win. Okay, and I'm assuming you're a lower belt because you're asking me this question. Okay, so I will tell you, don't try to win. Just try to learn. Try to observe what's going on. Try to understand what's going on. Develop an enthusiasm for getting beat up. I got armbar. That was really cool. Okay, how do they do it? They wrap. Oh, that's how it works. I'm getting a clearer picture. Try to climb the ladder by learning, not by blowing the door down. Okay, don't try to blow the door down. When you try to blow the door down, you're just gonna break your knee, your back, your lower back. I don't think gi really makes a difference. I don't think it makes a difference. You can really get injured with the gi just as much. John's striking is underrated in my opinion. That's from Steph Imich. I think his striking was great. It was really good, but I think we all praise his striking. He's always been a striker. Fundamentally, he's a striker. Stipe deserved to get the payday and the ride off into the sunset. That's from DC. I don't think he really rode off into the sunset. Do you call that riding off into the sunset? Is it worth it going out there and getting a beating, getting a one-sided beating? Now he ended his career with 2 losses. I don't know if he's ever going to come back, but it's not the end of the world losing with 2 losses. It's not fun. It's not good for your name, your image, but he's definitely not the greatest heavyweight of all time. Like, definitely not. There's 2 guys out there that beat him. Like, people are going to say, oh, in his prime, that's not. I don't think anybody's going to remember that. He lost to a guy who went up from light heavyweight. He lost to the, arguably the greatest of all time, so it's not that bad, but he got beat down, man. It wasn't even a fight. It wasn't even a fight. I boycotted this pay-per-view. That's from Anas. Okay, it would have been nice if you told us why you boycotted this pay-per-view. What do you think of Yosef Zalal? That's from Amin. I think he's great. I met him actually in Edmonton. We swapped numbers, so hopefully in the future we'll train together. Mr. Charles, I can't even read this question. I can't even read it. I don't think you're being serious here. I think I'm being trolled here by Mr. Charles. Hey, for us, your experience with carnivore diet. That's from Grinder248. I had Carnivore MD. He doesn't go by that anymore. I'm forgetting his name now. Goodness gracious, how am I forgetting his name? Oh, somebody give me his name in the chat. How could I forget his name? This is really bad. Let me look it up again. I can't. Paul Saladino. Okay, sorry guys, it slipped my mind. Paul Saladino. I had a podcast with him. You guys can check it out. To honor my guest, I tried carnivore, and he was telling me I could eat as much food as I want, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense because it's a lot of sugar. Food is a lot of sugar, and he was telling me I could eat dates because I was like, what about dates? Dates is a lot of sugar. Oh yeah, eat as many as you want. Fuel up on dates. But the thing is, dates have 2 types of sugar in them. One of them stored in your pancreas, and it can only store about 70 grams. More than that, it starts to store it as fat. So I was like, hey, isn't that going to make me fat? He was like, no, don't worry about that. It's not going to happen. Guess what? I got more muscular on carnivore and fruit, meat and fruit, but I also got my waist got thicker. So once my waist got to 36, I stopped. I was like, hey, wait a second. My waist is never 36. That's like my upper max. I never go past that. This diet's not working for me. So I cut out the fruit. I started adding potatoes instead, and my weight started to go back down. And look, I do eat meats. Definitely, I eat meat. I eat eggs. I eat dairy. I eat shrimp, seafood. But I cut out the sugar. I don't go too much sugar. I went back to low fat. So I eat lean meats. Is what I wanted to say. Okay, I'm a high carb, high protein, low fat guy. That's what I like. I feel the best on that. I've tried everything. I try to be open-minded, but for me, what works best for me is high carb, high protein, low fat. I keep everything low fat. I feel really good. I digest well. I feel energy. I feel recovered. I feel muscular. Like, it keeps the muscle on. I'm trying to do higher protein nowadays. I'm trying to do protein with every meal. It's really helping. It's making my physique a little bit more thicker. It's making me a little bit thicker, so it's keeping the size on. I really like low fat, guys. I'm a low fat guy. I enjoy my food. I enjoy every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I do low fat stuff, even desserts, low fat. I love this diet. I absolutely love this diet. I think carnivore is not going to be sustainable for most people. I've never met anybody who could do it for a long term. Never. Like even George, he's more carnivore now, but he's still not carnivore. He eats all sorts of, he eats potatoes, he eats sandwiches, like, but then he'll go back to a stint of protein. Okay, I get it, but that's not really carnivore. Like, I get it. Me too. I like to have steak. I could eat 3 days of steak. I can do that. My favorite food is steak. I'm crazy about steak, but it doesn't make me a carnivore. Like, I'm still, eating other things. I think, like, how do you define carnivore? Well, some people say this, some people say that. True carnivore is just meat. And no, if the majority of your calories come from meat, then you're a carnivore. It's up to, it's up to interpretation. It's up to people giving their own definition of it. Saladino, he was doing fruit and he was doing meat. For me, it didn't work. And it wasn't a diet for me. Bitcoin when it dips. That's from Sickish Joey. Sickish Joey. I don't know when it's going to dip. I think Bitcoin's going to go to 100 very easily. Then it's probably going to slow down at 120. And then it's going to, I think, look, Bitcoin is eventually going to dive. It's going to drop 40%, 40, 50%. That's when you want to buy. Now we're going in a super cycle. Who knows when the super cycle ends, guys? I have no idea. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Michael Saylor's out there buying all the Bitcoin he can. He's getting every dollar he can borrow to get Bitcoin. It's insane. What this man is doing to get his hands on Bitcoin is quite insane. I can't even understand the strategy. He has a strategy where he's borrowing money to buy Bitcoin, and people are buying his MicroStrategy stock, and MicroStrategy stock is going higher than Bitcoin. How could that be? It makes no sense. People want exposure to Bitcoin. Why don't you just buy the Bitcoin directly? I don't get it. How he can charge them 5 times multiple, and the more he buys, the more they want to buy from him. Why don't they just go buy it themselves directly? I don't understand. When I don't understand something, I don't like to invest in it, but I do like Bitcoin. I gotta admit, guys, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin. I think it's great. Will it dip 50%, 40%? I think so. And that's when it's time to buy. How high will this super cycle go? I have no idea. All right, guys, don't forget, I always do super chats and non-super chats. 21 with 9G to invest. What would you do? That's from Jaspal. Personally, Jaspal, you're 21. You're so young. You're a little baby, okay? This is crazy. Look. Here's the thing, Jaspal. I would tell you, like, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what I would do. Okay, I'm not telling you what you should do. If I was you, I would either buy the Bitcoin now or I would wait for the dip. Now, if you wait for the dip, you can get really rich, because by the time you're 31, you're going to be a millionaire. In my opinion, not with 9 G's, but not with 9 G's. No. Like I was buying Bitcoin way back in the day. Okay, before it was anywhere near the price it is today. Should you wait? Should you wait till the super cycle is over? That's the question. Should you buy now and just leave it there? Leave that night. Look, either way, you can't be wrong. Either you wait for the dip or you buy it now. You're 21, man. Just buy it now. Don't worry about it. It's going to go up. In your lifetime, it's going to go up to 500,000, 1 million in your lifetime. What do you care? Buy it now. What big difference is it going to make? Or if you're really like strategic, wait for the next dip. But the thing is, man, I don't know when the next dip is going to be. It might go to 250, then go back down to 190, and then never come back down again. Who knows, guys? Nobody knows. But Bitcoin has in the past dropped 40, 50%. That's when I think you should jump in. Now people are going to FOMO in. It's only big money that should go in. If you got big money and you're an older guy, you don't want to wait forever, okay, buy now. But if you're a young kid, maybe you wait till the next big dip. I mean, these are things for you to think. But I will tell you guys something. The more time is passing, the more I believe in Bitcoin, and I believe less and less in all these other coins. I think less and less of Ethereum. I think less and less of Solana. I think less and less of all these other smaller caps. Their projects seem more shaky to me than ever. And that's how I feel about them. I think they're good. Some are going to survive, but a lot of them are going to die out. A lot of them. The Bitcoin, though, however, I have so much confidence in. Personally, I have a lot of confidence in Bitcoin. Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson? That's from Lukeman. Neither. Shiz, my boy Shiz, the top G of the chat room. The Oscars goes to Jake Paul for Best Actor on Netflix. Arguably, guys, we forgot to talk about Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. What's wrong with you guys? Shiz had to come in here, spend $50 to make sure we talk about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. It's true, I completely slipped my mind. I did watch the fight live. Oscar goes to Jake Paul for Best Actor on Netflix. Arguably your best performance. Great job. Your punches look convincing, especially the look in your eyes praying Mike Tyson doesn't break the deal. Exposing Jake on your channel, Coach. To be continued. Okay, guys, Shiz is telling us this was a fake fight. Do you guys believe that? Okay, I gotta take a poll. Let's do a poll. We gotta do a poll. We have to do a poll. Now, was it fake or AI? Some people are telling me it's AI. The fight was AI. Can you believe it? Some people are telling me the fight was AI. I have one of my students. He's like, Coach, the fight was fake. It was AI. I can prove it to you. I'm like, what? He's like, look at the background. All the people were, everything was staged. I'm like, what? You think the fight was AI? Guys, I got to tell you something. Every time Jake Paul wins a fight, people tell me the fight was fake. The fight was fake. I don't think it was fake. Go back and watch Mike Tyson's training footage. Do me a favor, all of you. Go back and watch his training footage. Did you notice something? All his training doesn't last. None of his training lasts more than 30 seconds. He trains. He's doing an exercise. It's 30 seconds. You see a sparring. It's 15 seconds. Why? I believe that they were stopping every 30 seconds because Mike needed a break. Mike can't go 2 minutes. I guarantee you, Mike can't go 2 minutes. He can't go 2 minutes. He can't hit the back for 2 minutes. He can't slip and do pads for 2 minutes. He can't spar for 2 minutes. He could do it for 30 seconds. That's what he's got in him. And that's it. And then he needs a break. So they're making him do exercises 15, 20, 30, maximum 30 seconds at a time. Maximum. Go back and watch anything he does. Anything with vigor. Anything with explosiveness. Anything with, other than just pedaling slowly on the bike. He can't do more than 30 seconds. Jake is not stupid. First of all, Jake is bigger. Jake moved around. After one round, look, Tyson had a good first round. But that was the whole, anybody will come up with this game plan. Just stick and move, stay safe, make Mike run around the whole ring. For those of you who don't know, Mike has bad knees. Okay, this is before he retired. He had bad knees. That's one reason why he retired. In one of his fights, he was throwing a punch and his knee buckled out from under him. This is when he was like in tip-top shape. It's later in his career. Okay, it wasn't when he was in his prime, but he was in good shape. His knee gave out to him. You could see his knees in the sparrings that they posted. When he's hitting pads, his knees look very fragile. He could barely pivot on them. I don't think the fight was fake. I think Mike is 58 years old. That's what I think happened. Mike is 58 years old, and he's not a guy who aged well. Like, he didn't take care of himself the last 20 years. He just like, I'll do a fight. They'll give me $20 million. Okay, let me jump back into training. And, they geared him up, and he did a little bit of training, and that's it. It's not like a guy who was training consistently, taking care of his health, staying away from drinking, smoke. I don't know what he does, but he wasn't a guy who was like training on a regular basis and let me stay in shape. I think he let himself go. And then, 10 years passes, you let yourself go. Last time he fought was Roy Jones. I think it was 7 years ago. And he was fighting, Roy Jones is also up in age. Now he's fighting a young kid, geared up. The kid's huge. He's bigger than him. I don't think it was fake. I think just Mike Tyson's a 50-year-old man who's not in the tip-top shape anymore. That's it. Coach, it was not a joke. A girl at school attacked me and spat on me, so I put her in a triangle. Am I wrong? That's from Charles. Eesh, Charles, that's a touchy subject. Look, if somebody spits on you, you have the right to defend yourself. But me, I wouldn't put the girl in a triangle. I would just kind of like subdue her, take her to the principal's office, say, hey, look, this girl's spitting on people. She spit on me. I don't accept that. I want to tolerate it. What are you going to do about it? I wouldn't have put her in a triangle choke and choked her, but, I don't know if you have the size or knowledge how to grab somebody and apprehend them. But no, nobody should be allowed to spit on you. That's for sure. That's for sure. But, if she spit on me and she ran away or something, I'd probably just kind of report it maybe. It's really bad to to put a girl in a chokehold. It's a really bad thing. It's not good, because you're so much bigger. I'm assuming you're bigger, you're stronger, you're a man, your name is Charles, Generally, you might hurt the girl. Maybe she had a good reason for spitting on you. You didn't tell me about that part. I'm sure she didn't just walk by you and didn't like the cut of your jib and she just decided to spit on you. No. You must have had an altercation. There must have been a buildup. I don't know what the context is, but generally, you don't want to have to put your hands on a woman. DC never made excuses when Jon Jones called DC out. Imagine what Jon would have said if DC said the same things Jon said to Tom Aspinall. That's from Hassan Haytham. You're very true. You're very correct about that. Jon would have had a field day with him. He was like, oh, you're ducking me. Look, guys, Jon Jones is ducking Aspinall. What's the big deal about it? He doesn't want to fight Aspinall. Aspinall's a heavyweight. Why should he fight a heavyweight who's like such a killer? He can go down to 205 where it's nice and safe. What's your opinion on XRP? That's from iOS Pepes. Guys, I'll tell you something. XRP is like, I bought a little bit of XRP back in the day. I'm happy to see it pump again. Are they ever going to get this project off the ground? Yes. Is it ever going to be mainstream? Maybe. I don't know. Could it die out? I will tell you something. Projects like that, I just put a little bit in. Just a little bit. Like we talked about last time, I have 75% of my investment is in Bitcoin. That's the one I trust. I think we're talking about Bitcoin 25 years from now. That's my opinion. What are we talking about? XRP 25 years from now? I don't know. But I'll tell you something. If we are, my small investment will be huge. It'll make a crazy return. These projects are long shots in my opinion. But one of these projects is going to happen. They're going to need some kind of crypto technology. It's such a great technology. But Bitcoin, in my opinion, guys, this is just my opinion. You guys got to do your own research. It's very important. I think Bitcoin is not going anywhere. That's the kind of project I want. This project ain't going nowhere. Okay, here's money I'm not using. Put it in a project where I think is solid. It's going to be here years from now. It's got a great potential or team. Like, it's solid. Nothing in crypto is, to me, so convincing that's going to be here 25 years from now. Except the only one I will tell you, I'm ultra confident. It's going to be here 25 years from now. It's going to be here 100 years from now. It's going to be here after me and you all listening are going to be long gone and sleeping in the dirt. It's still going to be here. I think it's going to be Bitcoin. We're going to hand it down to our children. It's going to be inherited. This thing ain't going away. XRP might be huge. We might never talk about it. So in my opinion, take a little bit of the taste, take a little bit of your money, put in XRP, just a little bit. But put the big money in Bitcoin. That would be my strategy. Alibaba. Salam, coach. I choked my brother-in-law with a bow and arrow choke. He was out for 40 seconds before I realized. Took him another 20 seconds to come back to consciousness. Should I be worried? That's from Alibaba. Alibaba, let me tell you a story. Okay, I'm just going to want to ease your mind. I don't think you should be worried. Okay. I'll tell you a story. One time my sons were rolling, and usually I'm watching them when they roll out of the corner of my eye and whatnot, but they were rolling, and there was a room full of like 100 people rolling. So, there's plenty of supervision. There's plenty of people around them. And I was working with one of the pros in the cage. We were drilling or whatever we were doing. And then I hear people yelling, coach, coach. And I look around, I turn my head, and I see one of my sons foaming at the mouth out. So I was like, I thought he broke his neck or something, God forbid, but I thought like he was seriously injured. He was foaming at the mouth. So I was in the cage. I jumped over the cage. The cage is like 6 feet. I just jumped over it. I got to the man. I was like, hey, somebody call an ambulance. I was trying to grab onto him. And I looked at my other son and I was like, was it a choke or a slam? He's like, choke. It was a choke. So that eased my mind. And as I got to my son, he was coming to. Now I wiped his mouth. He was drooling or whatnot. And he was revived. He was okay. Okay, guys, it's just a choke. It's not a neck thing. Okay, perfect. Okay. I sat them down. I told them to not wrestle anymore. I finished the practice. We finished training. I took the kids home, and I could tell my sons were very emotional. One brother almost killed his brother, and the other one almost died. Now, the one who got choked, the younger brother, always talks a lot of trash when they're rolling. And I tell him all the time, don't do that. Don't antagonize your brother. You're overdoing it. Jokes are one thing, but you're antagonizing him way too much. Every time he slips out of his submission, he's gonna talk trash about, you see, you can't catch me, you can't get me. This is not. He's antagonizing his brother. He's antagonizing, and I get it. Sometimes we joke around like that, in the gym. It's a fun environment. We joke around when we know each other well. Of course, we don't antagonize the guys who aren't regular. We kind of play around. Guys are horsing around, but what happens when you antagonize a guy so much, when he does catch you, he wants to make sure to shut you up. And that's what happened. Before my younger son can tap out, he got choked out unconscious. And I told him that. I told him that so many times. I always tell them, guys, when you apply a submission, you always go gradual. You start 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, and you climb slowly. That way you don't injure your partner. Anyways, long story short, they learned their lesson. They were really traumatized. We went home, driving home. You could see they were shocked. They were so in shock. Now, I'll tell you something. That morning, I had another practice. Another guy got choked out on the mat. I've seen it countless times. You have to understand. I get it. The first time it happens, it's like, is that person dead? Now, I don't want to make light of it. I'm not telling you guys to ever take it lightly. No, you shouldn't take it lightly, especially if you have a prolonged choke. Look, I've been choked out, and I've choked out plenty of people. But I've never held a choke so long that I was worried, panicking after. No. Usually when a guy goes out, I realize it and I let go right away and we revive him. But you have to be very careful. I wouldn't worry about it if your brother-in-law is walking up and about and he's fine. Don't worry about it. I've seen it countless times. I just know that a lot of times when people see it for the first time, they have an emotional reaction oh my God, what did I do? What just happened? Why didn't the guy tap? You're like, what's going on? Sometimes you think you could fight off the choke, and before you even realize it, you're out. The guy thought he was going to get out, but he passed. He passed out. He was thinking, I have a way out. Look at it. And then the lights go out before you can even realize it. There's no warning. There's no bell. There's no countdown. Hey, you better get out in the next 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Okay, I'll tap before the 1. No, it doesn't work that way. You obstructed the blood. You go out. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is, look, it can be dangerous. Always exercise every precaution, of course. But if the guy's up and about after and he's fine, I wouldn't worry about it. I've seen it a lot of times. And now for me, it's not that big of a surprise. It happens. I'm always keeping an eye out on the floor. I always tell the instructors, keep an eye out. Make sure everybody is rolling in a sensible way. However, it can be scary. You don't want to be that one guy who held it too long and hurt somebody. Coach, have you used the peptide BPC 157? If not, what do you think about it? That's from Mo. Mo, you think this body is not full of peptides? Of course I'm full of peptides. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know what that is. BPC 157. Let's look that up. BPC 157. Peptide BPC 157. Experimental creates risk for athletes. The experimental peptide BPC 157 is prohibited under the World Anti-Doping Agency WADA prohibited list for category of so unapproved substance. Furthermore, this substance is not approved for human clinical use by any global regulatory authority, and it may lead to negative health effects. Wow. Wellness and anti-aging. Molecular purpose prohibited under WADA. What's the negative effects? Doesn't list the negative effects. What does BPC 157 do to the brain? Brain trauma study demonstrates that BPC 157 may preserve consciousness and lower brain edema, decrease the number and size of hemorrhagic traumatic laceration, and mitigate the intensity of subarachnoidal bleeding with a significant decreased intraventricular hemorrhage and diminish mortality. Okay, well, I guess for the right person, it could be healthy. What does it do to your body? No. BPC 157. What does it do to your body? From human it's derived from human gastric juice. Promote health healing of different tissues, including skin, muscle, bone, ligament, and tendon in many animal studies. However, the underlying mechanism has not been fully clarified. How quickly does it work? Does BPC 157 increase growth hormone? Doesn't necessarily increase growth hormone. Benefits of 157 for men. Accelerated healing. I've witnessed the firsthand remarkable healing powers, alleviation of pain and inflammation, amplified muscle and strength, augmented cognitive performance, optimized joint health, mitigation of injury risk, fortified. Look, side effects. Okay, that's what I want to see. Potential BPC 157 side effects typically emerge in patients who use the peptide for an extended period and in some patients with certain pre-existing condition. The most common side effect reported by patients includes nausea and dizziness. Honestly, I've never used such a peptide, or I've never used any peptides in my life. So I don't know anything about it. I've never, for me, I don't recommend stuff like that to my athletes because I tell them I'm not an expert in that. So I wouldn't recommend anything that would damage their health. I find it to be irresponsible. Coaches like, get on this, do that, pump this in your blood. It's like, dude, you know what you're doing to this kid? Like are you like a doctor or something? You're not. So I think you have to be very careful with that. So personally, I would do my own research. I would talk to my doctor. I would do a lot of research. Even I don't trust my doctor. I think, I have doctors that I trust that are my friends. But if you don't know your doctor personally, I won't trust him. Maybe he wants to just, for him, he's making money off me. I'm very skeptical when it comes to doctors as well. Now, I believe in medicine. I believe in science. That's not the problem. I think it's when they're making money off these products. You know what I mean? They're making money prescribing these things. For them, they want you on it. Why? Because you're just another customer. You're another guy. Yeah, you're going to feel better, but maybe there's a long-term effect he's not telling me about, or I had to read about it, or he's not, in his mind, it won't happen to me, but then it does. 10 years later, I have some kind of disease or something because this guy's been pumping me full of I don't know what, and he made a lot of money off me. So, look, I really don't know much about peptides. Never tried them. Coach, are you meme coins? Altcoins the same? Meme coins are exploding right now, but altcoins haven't really moved. But can they do 10, 50, 100x? That's from Naoya. I'll tell you something. I hate meme coins. I'll tell you why. Meme coins is just like you guys are buying a coin and you're just pooling money together, and then one of you pulls the rug out from the other. That's what it is. You're all just taking money from each other. You're just guys behind the screen buying a coin, all trying to rip each other's money away from one another. Meme coins are just designed to hype. Get this coin, guys. They make it cool. Somebody's gonna tweet about something. Gonna talk about it. It's gonna be trendy. It's gonna be funny to own the coin. It's gonna be cool to be a Pepe coin owner, whatever you want. And then what are they gonna do? They watch the price go up. They watch the price go up. Okay, a lot of people put money in. Sell your coins all one shot. That's what they do. So a lot of people get hurt. There's only a few guys that make money. So you're thinking 10, 50, 100x. That's what you're thinking. Yes, you're going to make 10, 50, 100x. Only a few guys are going to make 10, 50, 100x. For you to make 100x, 1,000 guys got to lose their money. I don't like projects like that. I think it's really, really bad. Like, the thing is, here's the thing. All the projects, including Bitcoin, is the same thing. They're all a meme coin until they reach a certain critical mass. Okay, so I would tell you meme coins are overvalued. I think Bitcoin is undervalued. That's why I buy Bitcoin. Not because I want to pull the rug out from under you. No, because I feel like I could take the money that I own, the fiat money that I own, Canadian dollars that I own, turn it into crypto, and that's going to protect me from inflation. Not because I want to pull the rug out from under you. Actually, I'll never sell my Bitcoin. I'll borrow against my Bitcoin, but I'll never sell my Bitcoin. Now, your meme coins, there's such a small market cap that right now it's just a bunch of guys trying to pull the rug out from one another. Until it reaches critical mass, until it's mainstream, if your intention is to flip that coin, you're really just a rug puller. That's how I see it. I feel like you're just a rug puller. You just want to try to sneak your money. You just want to try to take other people's money. I'm not interested in that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. However, if people are buying a coin because they think this can revolutionize the world and etc., then okay, possibly. Let's put our money there and slowly increase it. Tell people about this new system. We compete with the bankers. Okay, great. However, if that was the case, would you call it Pepe coin? Would you call it like all these ridiculous names? Dog with a hat coin? Like it's just ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous. People are trying to make a farce out of the cryptocurrency world. There's thousands of these coins, and it's all just hype, rug pull. So don't waste your money with that stuff. Okay, guys, I'm looking at was the Paul and Tyson fight fake or even AI? Okay, 46% of you think it was fake or AI. That's crazy to me. That is really crazy. You guys really think it was fake? Okay, I'm assuming some of you think Mike Tyson was gonna get paid to take a beating. I don't know, man. Would you trust Mike Tyson? Would you give Tyson $20 million and tell him, look, I'll get in a ring with you, just don't hurt me? I don't know, man. Mike Tyson might just kill you if he was that dangerous. If he was, let's say he had the Tyson ability of when he was in his 20s. He might just kill you, not care about the money. I knocked out Jake Paul. I can go make money all sorts of ways now. I'm ultra famous. He was ultra famous before Jake Paul, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like, there would be a lot of hype around the Mike Tyson name. Maybe, all sorts of brands are going to want to sign him, and he's going to have a new video game coming out or whatever. I don't think it was fake. I think it was a real fight, guys. I think Mike Tyson had more to gain by winning that fight than by losing it. If he beat the brakes off Jake Paul, he would have made more. He would have found ways to capitalize on his name, on his newfound name, on his big victory. He would have, for sure, I think, capitalized on it. Not fake, rigged. That's from Daniel Perret. Even if you think it was rigged, meaning like Tyson's not going to throw too many punches and he's going to let Jake beat him, I don't think so, guys. I think Mike doesn't have... Look, before Mike retired, okay? When Mike was in his prime, if he didn't knock you out in the first 5 rounds, he didn't knock you out. Okay, let's go look at Mike's record. Hold on. Mike Tyson. And that was when he was in his prime. Imagine he's 58 years old. If he doesn't knock you out in the first round, he ain't knocking you out. Box rec. Okay, let's see here. Mike Tyson box rec. Okay, let's look at this. The man was a stellar fighter. 50 wins, 44 KOs, 7 losses. Okay, last loss was to Jake Paul. Then he lost to, what? Kevin McBride? No, that can't be right. Okay, when he fought Roy Jones, it was an exhibition. That's why it's not there. Okay, he lost to Kevin McBride. Okay, let's forget all this. Let's go into his prime, okay? Mike Tyson wins. Let's see here. It doesn't say the rounds he knocked people out. Win. It doesn't say. Oh, that sucks. It's not like Tapology where it tells you every way he won. Look, guys, I'll tell you. Okay, it does. It does say. Hold on a second. It does say. Hold on. Forgive me here. Last 6. What is this? Okay, I'm not sure how it does it, but look. Take my word for it. If Mike Tyson didn't knock you out in the first 5 rounds, man, he wasn't knocking you out. That was Mike in his prime, guys. That was Mike in his prime. Hi, Coach. Have you seen Foundations class at Standard BJJ on YouTube? Mastering Basics with Ecological Approach. Thoughts? No, I haven't seen that, Ian, but I've heard about the ecological approach. Personally, I don't do too much of that. I find like if you look at all the top like judokas and wrestlers and all that, they do a lot of drilling. So I trained with a lot of these teams over the years, and I felt like drilling was always great. I think ecological is cool sometimes, but the thing is, if I do ecological games and then I roll, it's kind of like I roll too much, and I've been rolling for an hour. And then, okay, am I going to train tomorrow? I'm pretty sore, Like if I rolled for an hour straight, it might be pretty sore. Usually I drill for an hour, then I roll for 30 minutes. So now am I gonna do ecological games for an hour and then roll for 30 minutes? I'm not against it. I think it's very doable because jiu-jitsu is such a new sport. There might be better ways to train jiu-jitsu. I'm very open to that. It's such a new sport. It's a different dynamic. There's a lot more techniques to learn. Maybe somebody's finding a shortcut out there, and it wouldn't surprise me because jiu-jitsu's full of smart people. So with that said, I have an open mind to it. I would try it. I would experiment with it, but I haven't really too much. Because the thing is, us, what we call it situation, okay? So like the way we do it, I'm not sure if this is ecological, but let's say we're drilling X guard. We drill X guard for an hour, and then we're like, okay, guys, we're starting today in X guard, okay? If you sweep the guy or you leg lock him for X guard, you stop and you start again, you reverse roles. So we're just doing X guard. That's what we call situation. Today's situation is X guard. Now, we might do that with 50-50. We might do that with back situation. So we call it situation. Okay, what's the situation? Okay, I'm on your back. So we're doing situations. Okay, here's the situation. You're in side control bottom. You're trying to get to guard or get to your knees in a single. Okay, ready, go. So we call it situational training. We do definitely use that a lot. However, I'm not sure if that's what they mean by ecological. Shiz says I missed this chat. Oh, how's that possible? Coach, read my evidence up top, please. Okay, let me read your evidence. Shiz, I think, is going to tell us it was a fake fight. Shiz, where's your evidence? Oh, here we go. Here we go. How could I miss this giant? This giant chat? Super chat. Okay. Floyd Mayweather, age 44, beat Logan Paul in 2021. Logan is bigger, stronger, has KO power. Regardless, Floyd still managed to land a punch and win by decision. If Floyd can defeat the bully Logan, imagine what Iron Mike Tyson will do to Jake if he lands a punch. Spread the message. The world is full of crazy people, and Shiz is their leader. Guys, Mayweather takes care of himself. Mayweather's been an active fighter for years. He trained into his 40s. He still trains. The guy's in tip-top shape, doesn't drink alcohol, doesn't smoke. He's straight as an arrow. You know that? Mayweather like works out on a regular basis. Like he's and he's 44. He's not 58. He's 44, guys. He's 44. Before Logan Paul, he had other fights. He was keeping busy. Let's look at Mayweather's box rec. Okay, let's look at Mayweather's box rec. Floyd Mayweather, 50 fights, 27 KOs. Okay. His fight with Logan Paul was also an exhibition. So before that, he fought in August against Conor McGregor. So that was a few years before. But he also did an exhibition in Japan, I think 2 before Logan Paul. 1 or 2, I can't remember. It was after. Look, needless to say, the man stayed active. The man doesn't drink. The man's in tip-top shape. Maybe... I personally don't like him as a human being. I personally don't like Floyd Mayweather as a human being. But one thing I'll tell you, he's a lot younger than Mike when he did that, when he fought Logan Paul. And he's in much better shape. He takes care of himself. Mike Tyson does not. Guys, I'm doing my best here. I'm not missing any super chats, but I'm definitely double checking that if I missed any. Coach, I have lost my passion to train BJJ. I still have the itch sometimes, but only want to free roll. Is this bad? That's from Miluka. Miluka, if you only run a free roll, I would suggest it's probably because you're not really convinced that your trainer teaches stuff that are game changing. I'll tell you something. As somebody who's been training for many, many years, the thing that makes me excited to go on the mat is when I have a new weapon or a new tool or a new strategy that I want to try out. I've learned that a lot from St. Pierre. St. Pierre, he's good at finding new ways to train or new little things to add to the workout, and he keeps the training fun. And you have to keep that motivation. So I would tell you, a lot of times I scan the YouTube for fights, good matches. I see something cool somebody did, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go pull that off. I think I understand how it works, and so I try to keep a motivation to learn. Get instructionals, watch fights on the internet. See something that's interesting and then go try and mimic that. Say, look, I'm going to try to hit this sequence. That's what I love about it, because jiu-jitsu is really infinite. And for me, it's a mind blow. When somebody shows me something new, I'm like, man, I've been doing this for so long and I still never thought of that. And it's like, wow, There's still there's still so much improvement. It makes me wonder what jiu-jitsu is going to be like 100 years from now, 200 years from now. They're going to be watching our rolling videos and you're going to be like, oh, those guys were Stone Age jiu-jitsu. Those were like, oh, those are old, so old moves. You know, like if you look at a modern day chess champion, when he looks at the classic games, and he's like, they're like, oh, that's old chess. That's really weird. That's like such a bad move. But at the time when these guys were doing these moves, like these Bobby Fishers and all that, it was considered genius. Now you fast forward it to today, they look back at those moves, they're like, yeah, well, you know, I could have beat him 7 different ways. It's like, yeah, but not at the time. People didn't know, they didn't have a deep thinking, they didn't have a deep understanding of chess like they do today. One generation building on another, every generation getting slightly better and better and better. And then you look back and you're like, wow, look at all this progress. So for me, that's what keeps me excited. Like, what's the next new way of making somebody quit? That's what keeps me motivated. Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall. Question. That's from Dedicated. Dedicated. I think Aspinall will crush him, man. I hate to say it, but Gane is tough, but he'll just crush him. I think he ends up taking him down. The differential on the ground is just too great. Aspinall is going to be too quick standing up. He's going to zigzag. He's going to maybe light him up on the feet, but if not, he's going to take him down and just crush him on the ground. Coach, what GSP fight were you most nervous about while cornering him? Question mark. P.S. GSP versus Bisping was a great fight. Yes, it was. It was a great fight. Thank you. Definitely a great, memorable fight. The fight I was most nervous was UFC 94, George St. Pierre versus BJ Penn. The rematch. Lightweight champion versus welterweight champion. Guys, I know BJ didn't finish his career in the best way. I know he lost a few fights. I think he lost 6 fights in a row. He wasn't in the best place in his life. He didn't have the best performance. But at that time, go watch his fights. He was crushing everybody. He had stopped Sean Shirk at 155. After he beat Sean Shirk, everybody was like, there's nobody for him to fight left. Nobody can finish. Nobody can stand 3. Forget 5 rounds. Nobody could do 3 rounds with BJ at that time. Everybody thought like his power, his explosiveness, his jiu-jitsu, everything is too good. And like sending him up to welterweight division. At the time, a lot of people, including myself, well, everybody knew how dangerous BJ was. Okay, I thought BJ was incredibly dangerous. I still think he's arguably one of the greatest of all time. But at that time, guys, let me just tell you something. At that time, the GOAT conversation was, it's either George, Fedor, BJ, or Anderson Silva. Those were the 4 names. Everybody was debating. Who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT? BJ was on that list. BJ was there, guys. BJ Penn was a killer. He was knocking guys out. He was incredibly hard to take down. Even if you took him down, it was a dangerous place to be with him. The guy was crazy good at jiu-jitsu and submissions. And he hit really hard. And let me tell you something about BJ Penn. Let me tell you guys something about BJ Penn. The guy's been hit by the who's who. Doesn't have a mark on him. In his prime, you can hit him with everything you got. That guy's still coming forward. That guy's still in your face. He was a very, very threatening and dangerous man. Offensively, super powerful. Defensively, incredible. Just the one knock on him that gave us always hope. Like his conditioning was always the best. His conditioning was not a tip top. So we're like, okay, at least there's a hope here because this kid's really dangerous standing. You don't want to trade with him. Can you take him down? Well, it's really dangerous. That's also a dangerous avenue. Can we get this guy working and take him later rounds and break him? That was the hope. Okay, now of course when George fought him in the rematch, it was a runaway fight. Okay, round 1 was tight. Then round 2, George started taking over, and in round 3, round 4, BJ couldn't come out between rounds no more. Okay, but going into that fight, trust me, both sides I think were super nervous. Both fighters were super nervous. Both camps, they spent millions of dollars on the promo for that fight. They had what we call a prime time. They followed us around with a camera crew for 30 days. Everywhere we went, camera crew, morning, night. They would come to my house, go to George's house, go to his parents' house. They were telling this story. This was the most important fight in UFC's history at the time. At the time, it was the biggest fight. If I remember correctly, they told us they spent $3 million on the whole film crew primetime thing. If I remember correctly, I remember them giving me the number. It was something like, it was millions. It was the biggest promo I've ever seen at the time. And yes, we were nervous. We really wanted that win. Like, we put so much time and energy. Everybody's hyped up about this fight. The whole world. Let me tell you something. That's when we became popular. We would go to US, people would recognize us. We come back to Canada, not many people know us. Like, if we went to the mall, if I went to a restaurant, nobody would know who we were. Nobody. After the BJJ and fight, anywhere we went, till this day, anywhere we go, Coach Zahabi, they're gonna ask for a picture, hang out. We became recognized after that fight. But let me tell you something. We had no idea that was we didn't know it was gonna blow up that big. When we were filming, we didn't know it was going to be like this 3-part episode, and it was going to be so watched all over the world. Everybody's going to be talking about the fight. I didn't know. None of us knew that. We didn't know it was a $3 million thing they were doing. We just thought, hey, they're going to follow us around with a camera. Okay. We were young. We were not as aware of how many people around the world are going to watch and see this fight. Like, of course, we knew it was pay-per-view. We knew it was a big fight. But the fight, I don't remember the numbers, but at that time, it was colossal. At the time, it was colossal. Okay, guys, give me a moment because... Okay. Give me a moment because this is lagging again. All right. All right, here we go. Coach, you missed my chat. Read my chat. Scroll up, please. It's very important. I think I already did that, Shiz, correct? I'm assuming. Because I looked back up and there was nothing there. Salam, Coach. Opinions on grabbing your opponent in the JJ from top position for control gable grip versus cupping and framing only to not let them connect. What? Salam, Coach. Opinions on grabbing your opponent in Juji from top position for control gable grip. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't understand what you mean by JJ. You mean a Juji? Like a Juji just means perpendicular. Versus cupping and framing. Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about, Hamza. Sorry, my friend. I really don't understand. I wish I could help you there. I really don't understand. Who's the arm wrestling champion at TriStar? That's from James Lee. Well, we had Devin Leratte once upon a time, but other than him, I don't think we're much of arm wrestlers. We're not really good at arm wrestling, let me tell you. I don't know, probably like Arnold Allen. He was probably doing like strongman stuff with his dad when he was young, so I'd probably pick Arnold Allen. Thanks, Floyd Money Mayweather. Okay, so I did miss one. Here it is. Thanks, Floyd Money Mayweather, for accidentally exposing Jake's fights. Can't get past real boxers like Tommy Fury. Floyd, you a living legend, and it makes sense why you're the boss when you're handling hooligans like Paul Brothers. That's from Shiz. Shiz, I don't think he exposed that it's fake at all. He's in much better shape than Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, I think, is like really not exercising, not keeping himself in tip-top shape. Who knows what he does in his spare time? But I'll tell you something. He is not as young and as in shape as Mayweather. It's a totally different level of fitness. All right, guys. Coach is on Netflix, guys. That's from Tanvir. That's true. I'm in the show La Cage. Me and George, we're in episode 2. I think George is in every episode. I'm not even sure actually which episodes he's in, but I saw episode 2, the one we're in. And yeah, man, it's crazy how many people watch this show. Like, I didn't think it was going to be this big, but George was warning me. He's like, no, don't you understand? This is going to be huge. This thing's going to be all over the place. Netflix. I'm like, yeah, but it's French, you know? Like, who's going to watch that? In French, people are going to watch it. Not really here. No, from what I understand, everybody's watching it. It's like number 4 in Canada, I was told. It was fun. I had a good time filming it. And I'm glad everybody's getting a kick out of it. Check out La Cage, which means the cage in French. It's on Netflix. Did you kick someone out for sparring dangerously? That's from Joe Barboro. Yes, it has happened, but very few times. Usually I just talk to the guys and, you know, we see eye to eye shortly afterwards and we fix things. But it's maybe like 2 or 3 guys in my career I had to kick out of practice because they just don't listen. You tell them not to do certain things, and when they're sparring, in their mind, they go into fight mode. It's like they're trying to break each other. They're trying to break their partners. It's like, you can't do that here. You know, you want to do that, go do that somewhere else, but it's not going to happen here. It happened very few times. All right, guys, so we have 51% of people think the fight was real, and 49% of you think the fight was fake. I'm going to end the poll right now. I can't believe people are so like, wow, it's almost like 50-50. People think the fight was faked. It's incredible. Coach, what type of prospect do you prefer? Raw talent versus coachability, and why? That's from Jazara. That's a good one. Man, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. That's a tough one, man. Raw talent or coachability? Eesh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I would say 50-50. Honestly, I just can't. That's just like, talent is so important, though. I'm telling you, sometimes talent is just something so special. If I had to choose, you're twisting my arm, I would say talent. I would want to have a talent. What do you think about the Taylor versus Serrano fight? That's from the man from Nepal, who actually comes from Nepal. I didn't watch that fight. I heard about it, but I did not watch the fight. I heard there was a cut, headbutting. I just watched the Mike Tyson fight. That night, the night of the fight, I had 4 other guys fighting. So I went to an event in Montreal. The 4 guys won. The 4 guys fought, I should say. They all won. Then I went home and I watched the Tyson fight. So I had like a whole night of fighting. So by the time I got home, it was the Tyson fight. But I heard a lot about this fight. I haven't seen it yet, though. Coach, Jake Paul carried Tyson. No? Never heard him. That's from Thierry Saint-Pierre. That's what I would say. I would tell you, yes, Jake showed respect to Mike, and he didn't try to finish him. And even before the end of the bell, he kind of bowed to him and showed him respect. And even though Mike slapped him badly on the way in, like just hit him with everything he's got. And Jake took it. Then on the fight night, I think Jake Paul beat Mike but didn't go for the kill. I think he respected Mike. I agree with Thierry 100%. Thierry Saint-Pierre, I agree with you 100%. I think it's the opposite. I think if Jake really wanted to hurt him, he could have tried harder. He could have went after him. He could have tried to shove Mike around and blast shots because Mike's not too strong on his legs. You could see if you push him around, you're going to fatigue him. Push him against the rope. Try to bang it out with him a little more. I think his corner was egging him on. Hit him with this, hit him with that. I think Jake, deep down inside, he said his father's favorite fighter was Mike Tyson, etc. I think Jake showed him respect and kind of let him finish the rounds in grace. Which, I respect, by the way, because, the man's 58 years old. You want to knock him out unconscious? I would let him finish the round, too. I'll probably, just kind of touch him up, do what he did, and there's no need to lay him out. The guy's 58 years old. I don't think it's very healthy for his mind, Shiz, Coach Mike has way more power, and I'm supposed to believe he can't deliver it even if he's 58, even if he's 70 years old. I don't care. Mike is a dangerous man for 2 rounds, even if he's 70 years old. That's from Shiz. Guys, Shiz is suffering from what we call, what do we call it? What's the official academic name? I was just talking about it today, actually. I'm just so tired right now. Oh my God, I got to get this. Personal incredulity. Personal incredulity. Personal incredulity. It's blowing your mind so much that you just can't believe it to be true. Just because it's so hard to believe that a man who was so powerful once upon a time can't knock out a guy who's bigger than him. It's not impossible. The guy's 58 years old. He's not a healthy 50 years old Shiz. He's got horrible, horrible knees. Okay, let me try to find the fight. Okay, I'm gonna try to make Shiz understand, because Shiz is wearing a tinfoil paper hat right now. Tinfoil hat. Let me see if I have it on YouTube. Let me see if I can find it. And fight. Okay, never mind. I can't find the fight. It's all inundated with Jake Paul fights. But there's a fight where Mike Tyson's he's fighting and his knee buckles out during the fight. Like his knee gives out. And he got stopped. I can't remember who he fought at that time. No. If you put Mike Tyson out, it's all Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. It's crazy. The internet's flooded with this. Guys, I'm telling you, Mike doesn't have good knees. He can't chase Jake Paul around the ring. He doesn't have the cardio. I'm telling you guys, in the last fights in his career, I followed him closely. He couldn't train more than a minute at a time. They had to give him 30 seconds on, 1 minute breaks. Imagine now he's 58. Everything's like 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 30-second efforts. The guy has no cardio. Even in the prime of his career, he was in great shape. He wasn't a distance guy. He was never a distance guy. And also they put on, I believe it was 12 or 14 ounce gloves, like bigger gloves than usual. Usually it's 10 ounce gloves. I think they made them put on 12 ounce gloves. Don't forget that. That's huge. You're sparring with 12 ounce gloves. It's 2 extra ounces on each hand. So there's a lot of more glove between both fighters. You know, I could cover up. I have 4 extra ounces to cover up with, and you got 4 extra ounces you got to punch through. It makes a big difference. So they made the gloves bigger. I bet you it's Jake Paul's team to pick which gloves they're going to use. They're probably the safest gloves you can find. They're super, super damper. They're super ultra safe gloves. They're not stupid. These guys aren't stupid. They're making millions of dollars. And you're going to run around the ring and Mike can't catch you. And after 1 round, 2 rounds maximum, Mike ain't in shape, guys. I've heard these guys have trained together in the past, you know. Mike's old. He probably sparred with him. He's like, hey, Mike's old. Let me go beat this guy on Netflix now. Let me go beat him on Netflix. Makes money. We got to get past the fact that Mike got old, guys. It's just part of life. Coach, you have to see this AI-made debate between Ibn Rushd and Al-Ghazali. It's something you'd like, never seen before. You'll love it. That's from Yaz. Yeah, I've been seeing that channel. It's been popping up with like artificial conversations made by AI. I'm very familiar with them. So yeah, I've been checking them out. I've been listening to a few. It's really good stuff. It is very interesting stuff. But I'll tell you something. It gets it wrong. A lot of the views are wrong. Don't hang your hat on these AI-generated conversations. They're not that profound. They're not that sophisticated. And a lot of the views are misconstrued. I would say a lot of the views are very misconstrued. Astro Boy, Salam Coach, will there be a New Year's promo if I need to get back at the gym? What tips do you have for someone that's recovering from smoking, like stuff I can do at the gym for a better lung recovery? That's from Astro Boy. Astro Boy, the promo code is level up 50 off. You're getting 50% off. I don't think you can ask for better than that. And I will tell you, what's the best video for you? I would tell you, get a man's guide to throwing a punch. Work a bag routine. The best cardio, the best way to fix your lungs, man, I'm telling you, is the bag workout. The bag. Guys, you got to warm up. You got to do your bag your boxing routine, and then you got to do conditioning. All that's got to be fun. You put on a podcast, you put on a movie while you're doing it. You go through your routine. Hitting the bag is the best conditioning ever. The cardio that you're going to do for 25 years, 50 years, and you'll never get sick of it is bag work. I teach you guys exactly how to punch, how to block, how to shield, how to counter. I teach you how to deal with a street fight altercation. Make sure to get a man's guide to throwing a punch and develop a punching routine. I don't care if you're a die-hard jiu-jitsu guy. If you're a die-hard jiu-jitsu guy and you're competing, it doesn't matter. You still have to have a boxing routine. You have to know how to throw a punch. Don't waste your time with doing cardio, with running and this and that. That's part of it, but that shouldn't be the bulk of your training. Your cardiovascular training. Your cardiovascular training has to be kickboxing or boxing. Why? Because you're learning a skill and you're getting incredible cardiovascular conditioning. Imagine one guy rides a bike for 10 years and I'm hitting the bag for 10 years. One, my cardio is better than his. And two, if there was a street altercation, I'm walking away with a smile. He's going away in a stretcher. Unless he has a bike, he can jump on and run away from the guys who are assaulting him. Every man should be able to throw a punch. I've seen guys punch like this. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. I've seen guys like, I was watching this one event. It was chess boxing. The guys were playing chess and then they put the gloves on and they're punching like this. And I was like, why on earth would you sign up to chess boxing where you play one round of chess, one round of boxing, if you don't know how to punch? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, they're literally punching like this. What kind of man? Like, it can't be a man punches like this. No. Every man should know how to throw a punch. Every single man should know how to slip a punch, block, shield, parry. You don't have to be the world's greatest boxer, but man, you should be able to defend yourself and your loved ones. That's a basic need you need to fulfill. So if you're asking me what's the best way to better your lung and recovery, start a bag routine. Shiz with $100. Oh wait, we did this already, right? Yeah, Shiz, we got to make our peace with it, man. Tyson got old. He's not in tip-top shape. And there's a lot of guys in the world can beat him right now. A lot of men in the world can beat him. Jake was terrified of Mike the first 2 rounds. Showing mercy in the 8th round is still cowardly. Mike staggered Jake with the 14-ounce gloves. That's from Ian Patterson. Man, if the gloves were 14 ounce, because that's huge. That's huge. Hold on. Let me look that up. I think they were 12 ounce. Let me look up the glove size. 14-ounce gloves. Oh my God. Oh my God, man. 14-ounce gloves. Tyson's team was really desperate to make that money. The gloves are supposed to be 10 ounce. They put 14 ounce. Guys, that's like basically sparring gloves. That's crazy. Jake is bigger, heavier, and they're going to wear 14-ounce gloves. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. You can't really knock a guy out 14-ounce gloves, man. It's tough. It's tough, guys. It's tough because I got 14-ounce gloves. I'm protecting myself with bigger gloves, and you're hitting me with bigger gloves. Wow. I thought it was 12-ounce gloves. Man, the gloves did look bigger, but man, 14 ounce, that's huge. Sparring gloves are 16, guys, and you rarely see a knockout with 16s, like rarely. 14, okay, it's more likely, but still, man, it's very unlikely. Very unlikely. Wow. 14-ounce gloves. This was like, oh, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. If I knew that, I would tell you guys highly unlikely we will see a KO. Highly unlikely. That's insane. Wow. 14-ounce gloves. Crazy. How do you feel about Pierre Poilievre versus Justin Criminal Trudeau? That's from Talal. Man, I don't know. I don't know much about politics. I got to be honest with you. I'm not a big connoisseur of politics. But Canada has had a lot of more difficulty, I think. We're seeing a lot of inflation. Our dollar's getting weaker and everything's more expensive. Life is more expensive. It's just been a bit of a drag, since the bug we're not allowed to talk about. Yeah, I would like to see that change. I would like to see the economy bounce back a little. I meant for TriStar Gym subscription. Thanks, coach. I will stick to bags. Then I found them most fun. That's from Astro Boy. Guys, the TriStar Gym subscription is already on special. I really recommend you take advantage of it. I won't say what it is, but it's already on special, and it's not going to get any better during New Year's. It's now a better price than anywhere, and you get everything. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it now, but you get unlimited classes. You got everything, guys. It's like jiu-jitsu 2 or 3 times a day, striking classes, wrestling classes. You got full weight room, conditioning. You got everything. It's a no-brainer. What else we got here? 14-ounce gloves. Hold on one second, gentlemen. I got to check on something. All right, guys. What else we got on topic here? Appreciate breakdown, Coach Mike. I gave up on my day watched in my mom's special fight. What? Appreciate breakdown, Coach Mike. I gave up on my day watched it with mom's special fight was to me. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to say there, but Paul Brothers, you will be remembered for money, but will never be remembered for being one of the greatest. Ali, Tyson, Rocky Marciano. No, they won't be remembered as the greatest, that's for sure. No, man, they'll never be remembered for that. Not unless Jake Paul starts fighting some serious names. No, he's fighting guys who are past their prime, who he's always bigger than them. He always has some huge advantage. Look, the guy didn't grow up boxing. Okay, he's an athlete. He's a game guy. He's strong. He's very fit. He's putting his whole life in boxing. But he didn't do anything near what Tyson did in his career. He didn't do anything near what Anderson Silva did in his career. Now, he's still young enough to go out there and make a splash. And the guy's I think he's on a lot of gear. You can see how giant his head has gotten, how giant his physique is. When he fought, who was it that he fought? They asked him for a drug test and he refused. And when Logan Paul fought, what's his name? The guy was always ragging on his girlfriend. I'm forgetting his name. And he was like, let's do a drug test. And he shook hands like, I'll do a drug test. He never did the drug test. Logan Paul never did the drug test. Look, we all know they're on gear. Logan Paul especially, he's in WWE. He's on gear. They're all geared up, Guys, gear is just another word for steroids. Dylan Dennis, that's right. He fought Dylan Dennis. Dylan Dennis is like, okay, I'll do a drug test. Yeah, he shook his hand. I'll do the drug test. Never did the drug test. Last AMA, you clicked the wrong clips. His vid is called Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil, The Courtyard. Talks about metaphysical side of the courtyard. It's 1 minute. Oh, boy. Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil, The Courtyard. Okay, I'm going to try this one time. Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil. Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil. A 1 minute video. Okay. Last you clicked on it's called Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil, The Courtyard. All right, I forgot The Courtyard. Al-Wakil, The Courtyard. 1 minute video. The Courtyard, Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil. Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil, Abdul Wahid Al-Wakil, The Courtyard. It's 1 minute 23 seconds. All right, let me play it. Hold on a second here. Boom. Let me do the button pushing thing. Give me. Here it is. Et voila. Look at this. All right. Here it is. Here it is, gentlemen. Here it is, my friends. Abdul Wahid El Wakil. All right, let's see this. This better be good, my man. Or else you're going to be in a timeout. Here we go.
I always say that a house without a courtyard is like a man without a soul. The courtyard is the soul of the house. The traditional house was always established around a courtyard. All the traditional architecture, even in Oxford, you have the universities were built around courtyards. And when they explain about the courtyard in the books, the courtyard is the soul of the house. The traditional house was always established around a courtyard. All the traditional architecture, even in Oxford, you have the universities were built around courtyards. And when they explain about the courtyard in the books, it's all the thinking, modern thinking of functional. They don't speak of the courtyard on the spiritual side, the metaphysical side. So what is the court? It's the open garden. And what is the garden? It's the God-created world. It is nature. What is a building? It is a man-fashioned world. One is fashioned by man, the other is created by God. So the predominance of the house is having God's creation in the center. So every culture tries to interpret its image of the macrocosm into a microcosm in their house. And this what gives meaning to a space.
That was very, very beautiful. It was very, very nice. Thank you for sharing that. Look, the guy was trying to say, look, what's nature? Well, nature's stuff that man didn't fashion, right? If you see a tree out there, okay, it's not man that created that tree. That was there without the interpretation of man. Now, if I show you a car, people are going to be like, hey, that's not natural. Man had something to do with that. Man fashioned those elements and put them together. So this man is saying, look, when you fashion a home, you have to have a courtyard in the middle. A courtyard is like an outside space that's in the middle of your house. It's not covered by any dome, any structure. And there you're going to have like water, you're going to have green space, and that's nature. You're going to have nature in the heart of what's created, what man created. So what's at the center of man? Oh, the center of what man created, his attention is towards God. It's a very beautiful philosophy of architecture. It's quite nice. I would definitely, if I had the big bucks, that's how I would do it. That's fantastic. I would say it would be great to have a courtyard. And he's saying universities have it all, great buildings. A lot of, not all, but a lot of great buildings have that. Quite interesting. Very, I think, worthwhile in hot countries where, the outdoors is always a good place to go. But like in Canada, 4 months out of the year, you wouldn't be able to use it. Or maybe you'd build a dome or something, you'd figure it out. But a very interesting take. Ziad Ayman, love from Egypt, coach. Right back at you, my friend. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Salam, coach. Who do you think is the best fighter hasn't been champion till now, in your opinion? That man from Nepal. That's a good question. The guy who never made a championship, but he was so good. The one guy who never got a title fight. Oh, not the guy who never became champion. I would tell you Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero never became world champion. And I think he was probably one of the most dangerous men to ever do it. He fought a very close fight with Whitaker both times. He fought a very close fight with Adesanya, even though I thought Adesanya won clearly. It was still very competitive. Yoel Romero might be the most dangerous guy that never got a title. He might be the most dangerous guy ever that never got the gold. Who else? Who else could it be? Dustin was interim champion. I consider that to be a legitimate championship. Colby was champion. Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen was almost champion. All he had to do was hang on. Rory McDonald, yeah, he was also a great fighter. Was very close to gold. Very, very close to gold. But he also was Bellator champion after, so that's a world championship as well. Who else out there? Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson had a great fight with John Jones, but he was not one of the greats who never got gold. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that about him. No, he was great, but he wasn't. Brock Lesnar did wear gold. Brock Lesnar was champion. He beat Randy Couture. Half the humans GSP denied. That's from Ian Patterson. That's a good one. You're right. I mean, there was Josh Koscheck. There was Nick Diaz could have wore gold. He was also incredibly good. I mean, he was Strikeforce champion. That's a legitimate world championship. But he didn't wear UFC gold. Now, his fight with Condit was razor close, and a lot of people thought Nick Diaz won, and he should have got gold. But they gave it to Condit. So it was very controversial. Very controversial fight. For those of you who never saw that fight, Nick Diaz versus Carlos Condit, an incredibly tight fight. David Loiseau, yes, another fighter I trained. That's from Charles Biddle Williams. Charles Biddle, you're an OG. You're a gentleman and a scholar. You know your fight game. Guys, I trained the first Quebecois to have a world title fight, David Loiseau. Worked together for a very long time. We're very close friends as well. And he fought Rich Franklin, and he lost the fight, but he had Rich Franklin knocked down at one point. He hurt Rich Franklin with a big shot at one point. Rich was able to rally, get takedowns. It was a very tough fight for David, but he really put out a lot of heart, and he did, for an instant, flatten the champion, flatten him, hurt him, stun him. And unfortunately, he came up short, but nonetheless, he was one of the guys who was very, very close to wearing gold. Very, very close. Zabit. Zabit is another big name that I would say. You're right. That's from Yaz. Yaz, that is a very good name to throw in the hat. Zabit could have been wearing gold. Actually, it would be incredibly interesting to see Zabit in the division now. I would love to see how he would do with a Max Holloway or Alexander Volkanovski or a Taporia. Overeem never got MMA gold. No, he did win the world championship. He did. He beat, wasn't it a title fight when he beat Brock Lesnar? I think it was a title fight. I can't remember. Tim Kennedy. I wouldn't say Tim Kennedy is one of the. Yeah, he was a great fighter, sure, but he wasn't. He wouldn't be one of the top guys. I was like very confident he's gonna wear gold, and not get it. You know, there was a lot of obstacles in Kennedy's way. Yoel Romero, of course. Weidman. Weidman and Luke Rockhold. Like, there was a lot of obstacles in his way. Like, tough fights, winnable fights, doable, but very tough. Paulo Costa, not really. I mean, he's a great name. He's a great fighter, but not consistent enough. Rumble Johnson. Rumble Johnson is a good name. Yeah, that is a good name. Yeah. Do you think there are people who have done horrific things but will be forgiven by God because in their heart they truly believe what they were doing was right? That's from Kasim Husani. Yeah, of course, if your intention is to do something correct and it turns out it was wrong, if your intention was 100% honest, then yes, no, it wouldn't be a... Look, I wouldn't hold you to account. Now, if you're an adult and you should know better, it's something you neglected, like let's say, I didn't know the speed limit was 100K because I cheated my way through my driving test. No, then I think you're liable. You can't just be ignorant of laws. You're supposed to know these laws. But let's say you wanted to turn right because you wanted to avoid hitting a dog, and unfortunately, horribly, you hit a human being. You were trying to avoid one evil and you created another one even worse. But that wasn't your intention. Your intention was to swerve and save this animal. Then I would say it's not your fault. You didn't have that intent. Zabit versus Ilya is fire. That's from Akram. That would be quite incredibly interesting. Kenny Florian or Vanderlei Silva? That's from Kabzar. Yeah, Kenny Florian is a good name. Vanderlei Silva, well, he did wear gold for a long time in Pride, so I wouldn't say he never touch gold. He was definitely a very dedicated champion. He was champion for, I think, 5 years. Assalamu alaikum, coach. If the whole monetary system is full of interest / riba, then how do we navigate through it? That's from Mingo. Mingo, that's a great question. I think cryptocurrency is a great way to get out of the banking system, which is just another way to put shackles on us. They shackle us in a way that we don't see the shackles. But the shackles are there, my friends. We have economic slavery. And cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, I think is a very possible solution. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Thoughts on Sharia law from Tuxedo Mask? Well, I wish you would ask me a more precise question, because what's Sharia law? Like, Sharia just means like the path, Sharia. What was Christianity called? I want to ask you guys a question. What was Christianity called before it was called Christianity? Okay, so early movement, the Jesus Christ movement, the early movement. It wasn't called Christianity. It wasn't called Judaism. They were Jews. They would consider themselves Jews. But their movement was referred to as the way. That's what they called it. The way. Look this up, okay? Scholars, Christian scholars, not Muslim scholars, not me, not philosophers. Christian scholars say the early movement was referred to as the way. What's the way? It's loosely translated. You could loosely translate it to Sharia. So Jesus Christ was saying, look, this is our Sharia. This is our way of life, our direction, the way. So what's Sharia law? I think when we say Sharia law, a lot of you guys associate images with like the Taliban, like just like medieval practices. When I say Sharia, that's not what I mean. Okay, so I don't want to make a false equivocation. Is that what you're talking about? Then no, we wouldn't have that. Okay, like it wouldn't exist. Sharia law, like if you go to any Muslim country, you're going to see Sharia. Sharia just means like the way of life, okay, the path of life. If Muslims are praying, they're doing ablution, they're fasting, that's Sharia. That's all Sharia. If you go to UAE, that's Sharia. If you go to Saudi Arabia, that's Sharia. Like, not everything is perfectly Sharia for sure, but again, it's interpretation. Don't forget, guys, it all lies with interpretation, school of thought. There's a variety. We're very united, yes, but we also have our breathing room. We have our different variations of things. Now, Taliban and all that stuff, that's not Sharia. That's like an extreme, twisted, just a really bad interpretation of what Sharia is. So when you say Sharia, I think that's probably what most people think it is, because they see it on the news and people love to give what's most shocking a lot of attention. But I live Sharia. We all live Sharia. All Muslims live Sharia law. It's not violent. It's not mean. It's not grotesque. It's not backwards. It's not evil. It's really quite simple. Question: how can a man have multiple wives and treat them equally? That's from John J.C. Rowe. Oh, it's really easy. If you buy one a house, you got to buy the other one a house of equal value, of equal standard of living. If you spend one evening with one, you owe the other four an evening also. If you take one out to dinner, you owe the other four a dinner also. You can't just keep them on the side and mistreat them. You got to treat them all equally. Now, we'll take a man with a lot of wealth. Okay. Now, why do we have 4 wives sometimes? Well, sometimes there's wars. There's shortage of men. Men go out to war. They come back. A population of the men died. Those are single women now. Their husbands died in the war. The woman is single. What's she going to do? Traditionally, through war, okay, if you look at through the history, women, when their husbands die, they either become prostitutes or some guy's mistress. In Islam, instead of her becoming a mistress or a prostitute, Famously in Vietnam, women started becoming prostitutes. Why? They never had a prostitution problem. Why? So many of the Vietnamese men were killed. So these women had children, 6, 7 children, 5 children, 4 children, whatever it is. They want to feed those kids. Well, what can they do? They have to sleep with these American soldiers. Why? Because that's how they're going to get American dollars, and that's how they're going to feed their kids. So it's either their kids starve or they, work the worst job humanly possible. Islam has a solution for that. No, she'll be married to a guy with more wealth so he can take care of her family, take care of her, etc. And she's going to be known as his wife. She's not going to be a mistress. Like in Canada, you cannot have 2 wives, but you can have 5 mistresses. If I have 5 mistresses, I sleep with her, I get her pregnant, then I don't talk to her anymore. I don't want to know anything about her. It's nothing illegal. I could totally do it. And I have a kid somewhere, and that kid never grows up knowing who his father is. He has no right to my inheritance. He has no right to $1 from me. Well, guess what? In Canada, that's perfectly legal. In Islam, it's not. Who is the father of that child? He's liable for that child's life. Like, he has to provide for this child and this woman. I find it makes total sense. I find it crazy that women will sleep with a man without getting the ring first. That guy's just going to use you and abuse you, and then he's going to discard you. You run the risk of getting pregnant. You're with a child. You're rearing the child. Your whole life has changed. This guy's off in another city somewhere. His life is not changed at all. A woman is taking so much risk. Coach Zahabi versus the West. That's from Tuxedo Mask. Guys, I live in the West, and philosophers, we cross-examine our societies. If I was out in the East, trust me, I would be cross-examining and criticizing the East. Don't forget, this is the way, guys. In philosophy, it's about self-examination. It's called know thyself. It's the know thyself philosophy of Socrates. It's the way we think. What can we do better? What's wrong with the way we're living? What's optimal living? What's the best way to be? And I will tell you, I find it crazy that we don't reflect on how we're living. I'm a Westerner, guys. You got to make your peace with it. I know I'm Muslim. I know I'm Arab. I know I have a beard. I know my complexion is different. But I live with you guys here in the West. And I think men here have lost control. Women now are on OnlyFans and they're making more money than we are. We lost control, man. We lost total control. And if you go out in the other countries around the world, they won't allow that. They think a woman on OnlyFans, they put her down. They put her down. They think she's trash. She's garbage. Nobody would pay $1 for her OnlyFans. In the West, we're like, hey, more money. Oh, you're beautiful. Here, take all my money. Now she's got 100 husbands giving her money, 1,000 husbands, and you're just another guy in line. You think you're talking to her. You're talking to some dude on the keyboard. It's just a horrific. It's a complete destruction of the Western man's love life. That's what's happening here. It's harder and harder for a Western man to meet a nice girl, get married, and have kids. They have completely crushed your romantic futures, and you guys do nothing about it. See, I'm already married. I'm on the other side of the fence, guys. I got everything locked down tight. I got everything. I'm telling you, I feel bad for you guys. Aren't you guys gonna get that? Aren't you guys gonna get the wife, the kids, the house? Move on in life, have the pleasures of these. I want to see you all have that. I want to see everybody out there have that. I just find it sad that it's been taken away from you. It's been taken away. And you guys are not outraged about it. I'm more outraged than you. I'm more outraged. You guys can't buy a house anymore because of inflation. Here in Canada, inflation's gone crazy. 2 people living in a house together, they can't afford the bills. It's crazy. I'm more angry about it than you are. And now you can't even get married anymore. None of these girls are marriable. None of these men are able to get married. So what happens? They grow old and they start getting, lonely in their older age. They're not out there in the clubs anymore. They're not as sexy anymore. They're not as beautiful. They can't put these beautiful Instagram pictures on anymore. What happens when a girl hits 30, 35, 40? What happens to her? Who's following her on Instagram anymore? There's younger and hotter, guys. There's younger and hotter. She's gone. Nobody's following that girl anymore. She's 40, 45. I'm not going to follow a 45-year-old woman. There's younger and hotter all the time. What's going to happen to that girl? Well, she's going to get lonely, depressed. She's going to be looking for a guy who's also just as broken as her. He got chewed up and spit out. I'm trying to shake you guys awake a little bit. Greed runs the world. That's from Boo Rida. Well, I'll tell you something. That's one of the ailments of capitalism. I think capitalism is very good, very powerful in many ways. Free market is great. However, there are some ailments, and one of them is female sexuality being monetized. It's the worst idea in history. It's the worst idea in history. I remember I was listening to Richard Dawkins and Jordan Peterson. One of you guys asked me to listen to it. And Richard Dawkins was asking him, oh, well, do you believe in the Virgin Mary? And Jordan Peterson was all twisted up. Like, he didn't know how to answer that. Man, did he drop the ball. The guy's saying, look, I don't really believe he's Christian, honestly, guys. I don't think he was rambling on, twisting and turning. He was faced with Richard Dawkins, and now he has to try to prove the Virgin Mary. He was completely like, I don't know if I should play the clip. He didn't know what to say. Now, here's what he should have said. He should have said this. The Virgin Mary, at least in Jordan Peterson's mind, because, if you're a believer like me, you believe, yeah, because I take it by authority. I believe the Quran is authentic, and the Quran implies that Mary is a virgin. Now, it never says in the Quran that she's a virgin. It never says that. It implies it heavily. It never calls her the virgin. It never calls her that. That's in the gospel. So I don't want to get things mixed up. But the Quran implicitly says it, not explicitly. Explicitly, it's only in the gospel, and that's a very important difference. But pragmatically, he should have said, it's useful to society. Why? Think about it. You're a young girl, you grow up, and your role model is the Virgin Mary. What are we telling you? We're telling you, guard your chastity, be respectable. When we go out to war, don't sleep with our enemies. You're the Virgin Mary, the most important female in history. That's your role model. She was a virgin. She gave birth. She loved her kids so much. Like, she was the purest mother possible. Now, no mother can be as pure as her. She's on an unattainable goal, but still, it's your North Star. Aim to be a pure mother. Now, look what happens in the West today. You took out the Virgin Mary as your role model. By the way, in where I am in Canada, in Quebec, it's very popular. Not in our generations today, but let's say one generation ago, everybody's middle name was either Mary or Joseph. If you're a girl, not in the Islamic faith, but the Christian faith. Like, let's say your name was let's say your name was Julie, Marie, whatever, your last name. Marie was your middle name. Always Mary, Mary, Mary. And if you're a guy, it would be, I don't know, Louis, Joseph, whatever, your last name. Your name would be Joseph or Mary. Always your middle name is Joseph or Mary. Joseph or Mary. Why? Because they were Christians. Christians wanted to propagate their religion. They were very attached to their religion. So what happens? Virgin Mary is the role model of the female in the West. Okay, and then you had, for those of you who don't know, Christianity swept the world. It swept Rome. It came to the New World. It conquered the West. Christianity conquered the West. If you don't know that, you don't know anything about history. Christianity conquered the West. Christianity was wildly successful. Christianity is and was wildly successful. Now, in the West, now we switched Virgin Mary and we put now figures like Cardi B. What's better? That's what Jordan Peterson should ask them. What's better, Virgin Mary or Cardi B? Because look at what Cardi B brought us. Now women forget holding the baby Jesus and taking care of him, like loving baby Jesus, alayhi salam, like all the pictures they depict. Okay, not that I'm for pictures and all that, but I'm just saying the Christians had a role model, and she was the Virgin Mary, and she loved her child, and that child was precious to her. Now you have Cardi B saying, I can't even repeat what she says. I can't even play one of her songs. But now our women want to be sexualized. They want to have sex with everybody. And they don't want their babies. If they get pregnant, they kill the baby. They terminate the baby. If you get her pregnant, if you fall in love with her, she terminates the baby. She's the complete opposite. She's the 160. Not only that. When she goes to work, when she goes to make her money, she's going to use her sexual weapons to make money. And not only that, she's also going to sleep with other men. Oh, yeah, she's so far away, like the Cardi B lifestyle. A lot of young men think it's cool. Oh, it's so great. They don't understand the long term. It's short term good. It's long term horrific. Because you think you're going to get all this action, but actually, no, it's only the richest of the rich that are going to get that action. And even them, they're going to be like, hey, I don't even want this girl anymore. I'll just go on to the next because they all kind of like disgust me. Believe me when I tell you this, sex is not as exciting as you think it is when you have so much of it. It's not as important to you anymore. But like a guy who can't get it, to him, it's all he can think about. It's the most important thing. It's like there's food, there's air, and then there's sex. Forget food and all that. Like it's the most important thing because he's not getting enough of it. He's so hungry, he's so desperate for it that that's all he can think about. However, a man who has regular access, a man who has multiple access, a guy who has so much of it, that's an afterthought. He's thinking other things. He's thinking business. He's thinking travel. He's thinking other things. And yeah, that's something he likes to do on the side. It's there. He has an abundance of it. He doesn't obsess over it. So in the West, what they do is they dangle this little morsel. Hey, you're going to be one of those guys who's going to get a bite. No, you're not. You're not. They just want your money. They just want to use and abuse the average Joe. It's a colossal error, I think, on the Western part. It's a colossal, massive error. It's destructive. It's going to destroy their culture. It's going to take them down into a downward spiral. Why? It's what happened to all the great empires who became hedonistic. They became gluttonous, sexually gluttonous. What do you think that's going to bring? What do you think that's going to bring? It's going to bring an absolute disaster. I see the chat is exploding, guys. I'm going to take some chats. I'm sure this is going to blow up now. Thoughts on Islam versus Ilya? I think Islam would crush him. I think Islam would beat him. Jesus' moral and behavior stands to the test of all time. Will you marry a child of age of Aisha like your prophet? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. That's Antonio. Guys, let me tell you something. Let's put this to bed, okay? Because I get this asked quite a bit. Antonio, this is what we call the historian's fallacy. At the time when the prophet married any of his wives, it was considered normal, okay? Now, don't forget, when the prophet did anything, alayhi salam, he was criticized by everybody. All his enemies criticized him for everything. But not this. All his marriages were considered normal. All his marriages were considered normal. So I see it like Zakir Naik. Because Zakir Naik says, look, it's not Aqidah. It's not a foundational belief in Islam. Like this is like, it's a report. How certain is the report? Well, some people say there might have been these motivations to say that she was so young because they want to ensure that everybody believes she was never with any other man. You know, there's a lot of politics involved. So kind of like, I believe that it's reported correctly because I believe that that's how people got married. On the onset of puberty, you got married. Guys, 150 years ago in the West, people got married at that age. Onset of puberty. Actually, you know what? Even today, guys, go to India. There are literally millions of children married at puberty. Literally millions of children married at puberty. And we're talking about like 10 years old. She has puberty, we can find her husband. What I'm telling you, it was very normal. And here's what you guys have to like unlock your minds for a second. If people in the past didn't get married in the onset of puberty, you would not exist. You would not be alive. You guys are superimposing your medical technology onto the past. They didn't have penicillin. We're talking about the medieval period. Look, from the year minus 2000 to the year 1, the population increase of the world was only about 100 million. That's it. It's 100 million. It was a very small amount of people on the earth. If we didn't breed at instance of puberty, we would not exist. We only hit 1 billion. Listen, we only hit 1 billion in population in the 1800s. That's because of industrialization. There was finally enough machinery. Steam power replaced slavery. We can finally now have enough food and machinery and energy and production for a mass population. It was absolutely 100% normal. A girl goes through puberty. She tries to marry the highest status male she can find. There wasn't people showing off their abs and taking model pictures and trying to tweak their eyebrows to make themselves beautiful. Yes, people took care of their appearance nonetheless, but it wasn't like we are today. Today we're obsessed with looks. No, to them, back in the day, it was status. Status. You want to find the highest status male. So this marriage was made to unite two families. Like the Prophet ﷺ's best friend, that was his daughter. So of course he's gonna have access to the highest status male. Take my daughter, like marry, honor me, make me part of your family, make me your son-in-law. He becomes his father-in-law. This is the way people were thinking back then. You understand? You find the highest status male, and you find your daughter the highest status male. She ensures survival. The way people think about it now is so ridiculous. People have no idea about history. They understand so little about history. They look back in the past and they say the dumbest things. And it sounds dumb to historians. It doesn't sound dumb to regular people. But you have to put yourself in their worldview. Half children die in childbirth. Half of humanity didn't make it past the age 5. So what do you think when you hit puberty? What do you think you do? Do you think you go to school? You hang out at the mall? Like, is that what you guys picture? Oh, after school she goes to soccer practice, then she goes on the Instagram. No, you don't do that. There's no that. There's no education. There's no school. There's no after school. Like, we're talking about the medieval period. Like, there was no plumbing. There was no sewage. It's a whole other world. A girl hits puberty, she gets married, period. And by the way, in Islam, you can't get married before puberty. You have to hit puberty. And here's the thing about in Islam, in Islam, you cannot do any harm. There has to be no harm. It has to be culturally acceptable. It has to be for the benefit of the both parties. Like when you have a Muslim wedding, the woman has to have a wali from her religion and her family. They won't marry you unless she has a representative. So why do they do that? Because they could be like, hey, this girl is under pressure. She's being threatened. Maybe somebody's threatening her. Hey, you better marry this guy, and you got to do it, and you're going to tell the preacher, yes, you want to marry him. And somebody's threatening her. Somebody's intimidating her. Somebody's blackmailing her. So to make sure that's not, look how much Islam protects the right of women. To make sure she's not being coerced, she has to have a male representative, somebody of equal power on the other side, so that we know this group is not forcing this young girl. They're not intimidating her in any way. She has a representative, and it has to be from her own religion. It has to be from somebody who has her interest at heart. I can't be like, hey, bro, imagine my own biological brother. I'll be like, hey, be my future wife's wali, be her representative. So that way, no, I can't be like that. It has to be a legitimate representative from her side. He has her interest at heart. It's all designed to protect the woman. There was no criticism whatsoever of this marriage. The criticism only came in the last modern day because people try to put Islam down in every way, shape, or form. But if you look back at history, everybody got married like that. Every king, every ruler, every single person, the highest status male, every girl, everybody who had a daughter who reached puberty, they wanted to marry her off. Why? She's going to have the best life. She's going to have food, water, drink. She'll have protection. It was a cold, brutish, nasty world. People didn't try to date. People didn't date back then. That's what, I find it so ridiculous. Like, people literally have so little understanding about history. Death was everywhere. The life expectancy in medieval period, scholars range it from 20 years old to 30 years old. That's most people live between that age. So as soon as you hit puberty, you're middle-aged. That's what people don't understand. You're middle-aged. A small percentage make it to 50 and up. A very small percentage. Look, the next time you get an infection or you're really sick, ask yourself, would I die in the medieval period? The vast majority of the time, the answer is yes. I get outraged, but they all called me anti-Semitic. That's from Tuxedo. Well, you know what? They won't call you a liar. They call you anti-Semitic, but why don't they call me a liar? I didn't say anything factually untrue. Now, look, guys, I am Semitic. And I know by some anti-Semitic, they mean anti-Jewish. I'm more Jewish than 99% of the people you guys criticize. Okay? Because most of these people doing bad things, I don't really believe they're Jewish. I think they're like superficially Jewish. They use Judaism as a weapon. They're not really Jewish, because if you're Jewish, you don't kill, you don't murder, you don't steal, you don't lie, you don't covet your neighbor's wife, you don't do all these negative things. Okay, if you're really Jewish, you wouldn't do that. I think they're cosmetically Jewish. Like, they use it as a brand, as a way to unite, as a way to. They use it as a weapon, because believe me when I tell you, most of them are secular, 100%. I give up single life. That's from Arthan. Arthan, don't give up, man. You'll find the girl. Well, Antonio Brown, I mean, nobody's coping here. You can do whatever you want. I mean, it's funny that you say that, but I don't want to bring up references in the Bible, but believe me, in the Bible, they got married very young. Very young. So you should do your research, because that's exactly how the people in biblical times got married. 100%. And there's so many things I can bring up, but I won't, because it's just not tasteful. Oh boy, here's Antonio again. Muhammad died and was buried by your own religion. Jesus was taken into heaven. That's from Antonio Brown. So what? So what? What does that mean? We believe in Jesus. We believe in Muhammad. We believe in Moses alayhi salam. Moses was also dead and buried. Did you not believe in Moses? Is Moses like... So Moses... So you're admitting that the prophet like Moses is Muhammad alayhi salam, because it says another prophet's going to come like Moses. You're right. That's another thing they have in common. Moses was buried alayhi salam and Muhammad was buried alayhi salam. They both were head of state. Muhammad was head of state. They both ruled the people. They both brought their people back home. They're so identical. You're 100% right. They're the same. Jesus was very exceptional, very different. You're right. I agree with you. But that doesn't make it any, doesn't devaluate Muhammad or Moses alayhi salam. Peter does the bidding of oil billionaires who fund him like Jafe Sandifer. That's from Chris F. I totally agree with you. Man, guys, I'll tell you. I used to like Jordan Peterson. He's the biggest sellout. He's a cowardly man. He's a cowardly man with like a little estrogen voice. Now I hear the estrogen in his voice. Because he bent the knee. He kissed the boots. He went down and he licked their backside. He polishes the apple for them. He's such a coward. The most cowardly man on the internet, Jordan Peterson. He's such a rat. Before he signed to The Wire, he was like, hey, I'm going to start a dialogue with the Muslims now. I'm going to open up the stage and we're going to have a dialogue and we're going to try to find common ground and get to understand each other. And Sam Harris was giving him all sorts of friction. Good luck with that. They're crazy. Sam Harris can't stand us. Peterson starts a dialogue and things are getting better, man. We're uniting. We could see we have future for peace. We have common ground. Everything was looking good. Then he signs with The Wire. The Wire comes and intercepts him. And now he's like, close the door. He won't talk to Muslims no more. All of a sudden, after October 7th, he's like, give him hell, BB. Like, what a dog, man. He's inciting violence against the innocent people of Gaza. And then he was trying to backpedal, like, no, I was just inciting for Hamas. BS. You know exactly the story of Hamas. You know exactly what it takes for a human being to behave that way. You're a psychologist. You take people's freedom, food, you bomb them for many years, you put lead in their water because the Israelis don't allow the Palestinians to purify their water. What happens when you drink polluted water? We all know that in Israel, they've been planning this forever. They want conflict with the Palestinians every time. Even Trump said it. After a few minutes, I realized, he said, going into the meeting, I thought, actually, let me play it for you. Let me play it for everybody to hear. Let me play this for all of you to hear. Even Trump was saying, look, I thought it was the Palestinians that didn't want peace. I thought they would never want peace. I thought they were going to be the difficult ones. It was actually, he said it was Bibi who did, Netanyahu didn't want peace. Let me see if I can find it here. Hold on a second. I'm going to try to find it. I can't find it. Anyways, it was just a soundbite of Trump saying, look, after sitting down with them, the Palestinian side was super nice. He said, I talked to Abbas. He talked to me like a father. He was really, really nice. I could see he wanted peace. He's talking about not Hamas, what's his name? Abbas. And he's like, look, they really want to make peace. He goes, when I talked to Netanyahu, I was like, after 3 minutes, I was like, you don't want to make a peace deal, do you? He's like, he started to realize, hey, this is all about creating conflict with one another. And everybody knows now. It's open. It's well known. Hamas was put in there and funded by Israel. Anyways, that's another story. We talked about this many times in the past. But you know, if you subjugate people, you block them into a wall, you take away their land, you take their land on a regular basis, you point a gun at them, you kick them out of their house, you don't allow them the right of return. Look up Resolution 194. Anybody, I dare anybody, look up Resolution 194. The whole world came together and said, look, the Palestinians were wrongfully kicked out of their homes. They have the right to go return back to their properties. We're talking about 700,000 Palestinians and their descendants have a right to this territory. It's completely wrong and illegal. And the settlements are keep going and the bombardments. I can't believe anybody would justify this and incite violence. Whether it's either side, guys, I never incite violence on either side. But right now, we watch a year of genocide. And all the idiots out there who say it's not genocide, it's not technically genocide. It's not genocide because it's not happening to you. That's all it is. If this was happening to them, they would be screaming genocide. Their gums would be bleeding, screaming genocide. Unholy Schmoly would be yelling genocide. He would be painting his face in blood, saying genocide, genocide, genocide. It's a genocide. They're trying to they're giving us a Holocaust again. He would scream at the top of the mountains. But it's happening to brown people. It's not genocide. Technically, we don't know, how do you interpret things? Because I can do that with anything. I can tell you what's the definition of a computer. Nobody can give a perfect definition of a computer. Nobody can give a perfect definition of what is a woman, etc. You guys all live that documentary. You can do that with anything. Guys, that's Greek philosophy, by the way. Most of Socrates is trying to define things and realizing we can't define them perfectly. But I'll tell you something. You go to the subject matter experts, you go to historians, and they'll tell you, the vast majority of them, even the most Jewish historians, will tell you this is a Holocaust. Now, there are a minority that say no because they have interests in Israel or they have pressure from Israel. But the vast majority of Holocaust and Holocaust historians will tell you, yes, genocide historians will tell you, this is 100% genocide. Think about it. If this was happening to you, would you think it's a genocide? Of course you would. All that to say is that Peterson is the biggest sellout there is. He's the scum of the earth. I ran into him once at a hotel. I was at a hotel. It was for UFC. He was staying there by fluke. We crossed paths. We talked a little bit. But I'll tell you something. If I ever run into him again, and he's a Canadian, it's very possible. If I ever run into that man again, I'm telling you, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. I will tell him off, curse him out, man. I hope for him he never meets me. Antonio Brown, man, then you can go visit another chat room, okay? Well, we're not really interested in this, you can believe in your religion. You're Christian. Look, Antonio, you're a Christian. You want to say here, no, Jesus is God. Jesus is God. Okay, you can believe that. Listen, if you seriously believe that, when you die and you're in front of God, that's your honest belief. You did your research. You're not saying that because you have some kind of other motivation or whatnot. If you really believe that, if that's the best you're understanding, I think it's not. I think in your heart of hearts, no man is God. I think in your heart of hearts, everybody knows who God is and what God is and understands God. However, because of our loyalties and the things we're taught and our traditions, we want to stay loyal to the traditions. We can't break away from them. So we put a loyalty to something else before God. I think this is really, really bad. But if you're telling me that you didn't, okay, so why do you need to preach it to us for? Why do you need to preach it to us? You could scream Jesus is God to the top of your lungs. What does it change for me? How do you prove that to me? I just don't find that's a proof. I'm just saying Jesus is God because these other people said Jesus is God. Well, how do they know Jesus is God? Oh, because they walked with him. Then when we ask your scholars, they say these texts are anonymous. We don't know. Is this book really from Mark? Well, Jesus didn't have a disciple named Mark. So who is this Mark? Oh, we think it might be one of the guys who followed this guy named John around. Might be, maybe. It's anonymous. We don't know. That's what they tell us. So okay, it's an anonymous book. Yeah, it's an anonymous book. And there were older books before that, but we lost track of them. We don't have the originals. So this is somebody who copied the book, who changed it around, and it's their interpretation. So it's really distance from what Jesus said. Oh, okay, so there's a lot of room for Greek interpretation here. Yes, because the Greeks also they had colonized the area, so they had a great influence. This is what your scholars tell us. Oh, there's so much Greek influence. And the Greeks, they worship men. They worship men, and their expression was this man is a god, meaning he's closer to God than us. Not that he's the God. So they have this concept of Almighty God and then a God, like a junior God. Like he's divine because he's so great, but he's not the God. He's not Almighty God. They have all these different things that they try to explain to us, that the 300 years of church fathers were subordinates, meaning they thought there was the Father, he's the one and only true God, and then Jesus is a subordinate God. He's like a God, like Hercules is to Zeus. Oh, he's not the God? No, he's not the God. What about the Gospel of John? Oh, well, that's 100 years later, they tell us. That came 100 years later. That's really the most inconceivable gospel of them all. Why? Because scholars like Bart Ehrman say, if Jesus said those I am sayings, and you probably don't even know what the I am sayings are, it's inconceivable that the other guys didn't write it down, because that would have been like the biggest statement he made. So they're saying that had to be fabricated. And why was it fabricated? Well, look at all these other Greek myths, these Egyptian myths. They all have similar stuff. This is not our scholarship. This is your scholarships. This is your scholarship. When we look at Christian scholars, they all talk about this jigsaw puzzle and how they can't be certain and they can't be certain. And always uncertainty. They can't bring the words back to the lips of Christ. So you want to go on top of a mountain and scream, God, 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 go for it. That's your business. But it's unconvincing. It's incredibly unconvincing. As an agnostic that enjoys listening into different discussions, I've often found a number of Muslims to come on as abrasive. That's from Carlisle. I would say both sides, the Christian side, the Muslim side, they're abrasive because they have like this internet war going on. And I think you should always talk in the best way, especially about religion. Like, look, don't get me wrong. I can get heated on any topic, but when it comes to religion, I think we should always show the good side of us, because the thing is, we have to have something sacred in this world. There's got to be one thing. Like, I know a lot of people, actually, there's nothing sacred in their life. Nothing. You could talk about their mother. You could talk about their religion. And everything's just a joke, and I take nothing seriously. Personally, I don't like living like that. I have things in my life that are very sacred. Very sacred. You can't joke about certain things with me. And I won't joke about certain things with you. I won't insult you in a certain way. Like, even though I don't agree with somebody's religion, I won't make fun of their religion. Never. If I don't like somebody's wife, for instance, let's say she rubs me, I just don't get along with her, I'll still show her respect. I can have a friend who the father is very offensive to me. I won't say anything to the father. Why? Because he's your father. You're my friend. He's your father, so I respect your relationship with him. I'm not going to ask you to defend me or fight with your father for me. So kind of things like that, like, for instance, my wife, I get along with her family, but if I didn't, I wouldn't say anything. I would let them insult me. I would let them tell me off. I would just humor them. Why? Because they're my wife's family, and family is important. So I live like this. I think it's really important because, especially, like, if you're really a religious person, I think it hits you in the soul. You won't act that way. So I don't like it. I always tell the Muslims, like, don't go down to that level, but I understand because they're very passionate, and I think it gets the better of them. But for me, I find it embarrassing. I think it does a disservice to religion. Now, I like a friendly, common ground dialogue. Yes, this is what I like, because I don't agree with certain things, and I like to express it, and I don't want to offend the other person. So I say it in the nicest way. And I get it. They don't agree with what I believe. They don't agree with what I think. And it's okay as long as we do it in a healthy, in a proper, healthy, polite manner. Why? Because it shows respect for one another, and we're truly trying to get at the truth. Because look, here's the thing, guys. Whenever you're trying to go after the truth, it's a delicate thing because our egos get involved, our emotions get involved. That's what we gotta dim. Because if you're really thirsty for truth, because I'll tell you something, I really want to know the truth. I'm like, I want to look on the other side of the curtain. I'm crazy about this. I want to know everything. Like, I want to know things no other human being ever understood. I shouldn't say that. I should say most human beings didn't understand. Like, I want to go that far in that domain. Like, I want to know what it means, the word truth. Like, I'm very, like, it's not normal. Like, I'm very, very fascinated by this thing called truth. And I want to go through every obstacle. And one of them, I'll tell you, one of the obstacles, if you want to understand truth, you have to shut away your ego. You have to get away from all this. I buried him. I logically dismissed him. All this ego talk. How, you see a video. Oh, this person crushed this person. Like, it's just all bravado, machismo. It's all for click, 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 click. Like, I'll never use religion to get clicks. Never. I'll never use my kids or my wife or I'll never use that for clicks. I'll never use that to, like, okay, don't get me wrong. Like, if they were doing something legitimate, okay, but I wouldn't exploit my family. I wouldn't exploit my religion in a negative way to get clicks, to earn money, to profit off. Like, is there anything sacred in this world? Is there anything sacred? Like, I know people out there, like, they'll post pictures of their naked wife just so they can get money. Oh, you want $10 a month? I'll show you everything about my wife. Here, hey, honey, put on this suit here. Put on this little bikini here. Come out, show the boys what you got. They're going to give us, all these guys are going to give us $10. We're going to make money every month. Like, it's insane. The world's become insane. Men will put their wives on the internet. They'll put their girlfriends, they'll put their daughters on the internet. Oh, my daughter, she's making money. She's paying the rent. She's helping pay the rent of the house. Like, what? Man, you have no soul. I think, like, part of you is dead inside. Like, how could you live like this? I think in the long run, like, every dollar you got, every dollar you made, you're going to pay. You're going to pay with anguish, man. You're going to be like in this you're going to be in this most horrible mental state. Like, you're going to be in the worst, like, talk about agony. Talk about agony. I think it's all going to catch up to you. It's all going to come back to you. And think about you, like, you can't respect a person like that. Deep down inside, you can't respect a person who will sell anything. Everything's up for money. Everything's about clicks and money. And it's just, there's got to be something sacred in the world. If Christianity is the truth, why wasn't it preserved? Why has the Bible changed? Isn't God perfect? Aren't his words supposed to be followed and not changed? God's law is timeless and can't be changed. That's from Salman. Well, here's the thing. Look, a lot of people are going to be like, the essence is still there. Some people are fascinated. They think they can piece the puzzle together back. But here's the thing. The closest thing we have to the time of Jesus' life is the Gospel of Mark. And the Gospel of Mark fundamentally is anonymous. There was no disciple Mark. Everybody thinks Mark. Even in the prologue of the book of Matthew, it tells you this is not written by Matthew. It doesn't claim to be written by Matthew. This is a name that was given you later on. People don't read the prologue, but it tells you this is not written by Matthew. It doesn't claim to be written by Matthew. It doesn't claim the Gospel of Mark, the Gospel of Matthew, and the Gospel of the Gospel of Luke and the Gospel of John. They don't claim to be eyewitnesses. They don't. Even the Gospel of Luke, it's perfectly clear. It's like, oh, look, there's a lot being said about Jesus, the Jesus Christ story. Everybody's saying different things. I went and I searched the accounts, and I'm telling you, you can be confident that this is correct. But he never tells you how he did it. He just tells you he did it. What accounts? Like, what accounts? Tell us about these sources. How did you authenticate them? Who did you know that talked to somebody who talked to somebody who talked to Jesus? There's no chain of narration. There's no chain of custody. It's just like, don't worry about it. I searched it out, and here's the truth. And then you find out the guy copied Mark, large parts of Mark. And who is Mark? Well, Mark is just a gospel that agrees with Paul, the scholars say. They say the gospels that made it is the ones that agreed with Paul. And why did it agree with Paul? Well, Paul had, high status. Anyways, it's quite a controversy. And this is not Muslim thinking. This is Christian scholarship. Now, there's diverse views. There's all sorts of arguments. But at the end of the day, if you tell them, hey, what part of this book is you're 100% sure Jesus said, they're going to be like, look, none of it. We can't tell you one thing we're sure he said. Not one thing. It's all probabilistic. Maybe this, that. And here's the major problem. All the references on why they think Jesus is God, it's all implicit. It's always implicit. You have to connect these dots. But all these dots are all dubious. All the dots you gave me are dubious. No, this it's authentic. Well, you know what? I studied it. I studied for many years. I don't think it's authentic. That's my conclusion. If you think it's authentic, man, go with it. That's what you think. I don't believe that. I personally don't believe that. It's not authentic. And here's the craziest, one of the craziest elements is that the ending of Mark has about, I can't remember, it's about 9 verses. Because the ending of Mark actually ends with the tomb is empty and that's it. There's no resurrection narrative. Nobody sees Jesus in the flesh. It's just an empty tomb. They go to the tomb and it's empty. And then you're kind of like, oh, he must have got up and walked away. Jesus lives again. Then they added 9 verses where they see him, they meet him, and he tells them, look, if you're a follower of mine, here's the signs that people are going to know if you're telling the truth. You're truly a follower. You can handle snakes, deadly snakes, and you won't get poisoned. You can heal the sick, and you could drink a poison, and it won't kill you. Now, I never met a Christian that will drink poison or let a snake bite him or heal the sick. I've never seen it. But that's the sign that you're really a follower of Jesus. Now, some people are going to argue, oh, that was put in later. Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. The earliest gospel doesn't have the resurrection narrative. It doesn't have it. If you go back to early Christianity, nobody sees Jesus after his death. They just say it's an empty tomb. They assume he's risen. That wasn't good enough for the later scribes. They're like, hey, man, people are going to be like, hey, that's not proof enough. There's just so much to know. I just don't find it that convincing. I just don't find it convincing. It's not authentic. They don't even know what happened to JFK. They still don't know which way he was shot or by who or exactly how. And they had CIA, they had FBI, they had footage, they had camera angles. They studied thousands of minds, great minds have studied physical material. Physical material. Here's the bullet we found on the gurney. Here's the blood. Here's the body. Here's the camera footage. Here's all this physical material. There is no physical material from the story of Christ. There's none. Zero. There's nothing to cross-examine. There's nothing. All there is anonymous sources. That's it. If you get too much access to sex, you become Diddy. That's from Nelson Moreno. Not necessarily. Look, I don't think I would definitely not have gone crazy like Diddy, but you can. I've seen a lot of guys who are very rich, very wealthy, very well off. They have plenty of access to women and they don't go like Diddy. Diddy's just a psychopath. Diddy's just an idiot. Diddy's just an evil guy who had so much money he can live out his evils. I don't know why he would do such a thing. Like, honestly, I find it absurd. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, do you really need to drug a girl? Like, you have all these women that want to sleep with you. Okay, you got to drug this one. You got to drug her, and he hates women. He wants to lower her. He wants to humiliate her. He wants to show, look, I'm above the law. Now he's finding out he's not. I mean, if he did do these things, and he's not proven guilty yet, but from what I understand, the evidence is overwhelming. I hope he goes to jail for a very long time. I hope he pays and he suffers for what he did. Because that's disgusting. From what I understand, he drugged and molested girls and raped them. That's disgusting, man. It's just, I can't believe it. Why would a human being do that? You know what's even more disgusting? It's like he can have any woman he wants. Pretty much any woman he wants. But he has to go and subjugate them and destroy them and ruin them. The guy's a sick man. He's a sick, sick man. Thoughts on Khalil Adani? He's a Shia. Would you ever reach out to have a dialogue with him? A Shia, many Sunni don't see Shia as Muslim. Khalil Adani. Let me see. Khalil Adani. Oh yeah, I've listened to Khalil. He's a Shia. Yes. Yeah, I think he's a very good, respectful person. I would definitely talk to him, but I don't know if it'd be much as just on this channel. I've definitely heard him talk. He's a very intelligent guy. He's very academic, very respectful. I that's the kind of guy I think. I don't know all his views. Okay, I can't tell you I agree with all his views or anything like that, but I would tell you that's the kind of guy I think has the right approach. He's respectable. He talks in an educated manner. He's friendly. He has a good demeanor. That's a guy I can respect, but I just don't like all the Sam Shamoun type things, where they're cursing and yelling. And it's like, dude, if that's your religion, I don't want to be part of it. Like, honestly. Like, when I think of Christianity, I think Sam Shamoun is a horrible representative of Christianity. Horrible. So personally, when I think of Christians, I don't think like that. I don't think he's a good example. When I think of Christian, I think like James White. That guy's a good Christian human being. Like he's a good representative of Christianity. He's an honest, sweet man. I think he's incorrect. I think he's more loyal to the religion than he is to God. I think he's looked at evidence straight in the face and denied it. I don't think he's a truly honest human being. But I hope he finds his way. But I think right now he has a good demeanor. And I think as he hopefully in the future opens his mind a bit and is truly honest, truly honest, he's a much better representative and much more like if I ever became Christian, I would do it at the hand of a James White. I would never do it at the hands of a Shamoun. I think he's too vile. It's just like, is that what you think about? When I think about religion, man, I don't think about people like this. I wouldn't want to be part of his religion. Like, I'll be like, no, if that's Christianity, I wouldn't be part of it. Oh, James White, okay, that's feasible. That makes sense to me. That guy could be a leader of a community. I would say he's a pious man. However, I just think his fatal flaw is that he denies counter evidence to his beliefs. He just outright denies it. He just thinks it's not true. Can't be true. If it disagrees with the Bible, it can't be true. And that's the biggest. So I'm talking about his Aqidah is wrong. Yes. Okay. His beliefs are wrong. I don't agree with them. And I'm sure he would say, I know he would say the same thing about me. But I think it's because he saw the evidence and just can't accept the conclusion. But I think in his heart of hearts, he knows the conclusion. I think in his heart of hearts, he knows. He knows it. Khalil recently debated Sam 5 days ago. That's from Hassan. Yeah, I saw a clip or two, and just like, he's a very academic guy. Like, he knows scripture, he knows hadith, he knows Quran very well. Khalil he's a brilliant guy, and Sam is nowhere near his level, like academically, nowhere near his level. Like, I don't think Sam has a college education. I don't think he has a high school education. Sam is very well versed in the Bible, but he talks like a preacher. He's not academic. He makes all sorts of crazy, erroneous conclusions, like crazy, like insanely crazy. Like, he was saying, oh, because the Quran intercedes, therefore Quran is a God. If it intercedes, it has to have a mind. What are you talking about, man? Look, my phone rings in the morning. It intercedes in waking me up. Does it have a mind? Does the mind my phone must be a God. Just because the Quran does something, and he misread it, by the way. It's your recitation of the Quran that intercedes on the day of judgment. So your actions are going to be personified. Doesn't mean they're a God. So he makes this leap. So he's like, oh, the Quran is also a God, a separate God from Allah. So therefore, every chapter is a God. So you have 114 gods plus Allah. So 115. Like, no. Okay, do me a favor. Find one academic that agrees with this conclusion that you came up with. You find this many. Zero. It's such an absurdity. Like, it's worse than what David what's his name? David Wood, when he debated Muhammad Hijab, we said that God prays to Muhammad in the Quran. Can you believe that? Like, what an insane. And it's crazy because I know the source he got it from. It's this crazy Christian guy who claims to speak Arabic, and his Arabic is not really good. Not that mine is great, but this guy's Arabic's not very good. And this Arabic Christian guy told him that the Quran is saying in Arabic that Allah worships Jesus. God worships Muhammad in the Quran. And then he went in the presentation in front of, I mean, this has millions of views. It's crazy. And I love how Hijab put it. It's like, after 30 years, this is what you came up with? That God worships Muhammad, so we're polytheists. It's crazy because every single scholar in the world will disagree with him. A non-Muslim scholar, okay? Every non-Muslim scholar in history would be like, hey, the Quran is not saying God worships Muhammad. Nobody's ever read the Quran and said that. You're the only two guys in the world, the Christian guy, the Arab Christian guy, and now Moon, who say it. Like, and you're not Arabic speaking. Wood, excuse me. I don't know why I keep calling him Moon. David Wood does not speak Arabic. So he's taking the word of this guy whose Arabic's not so good. But it's so easily verifiable. It's so easily verifiable. Like the thing is, David Wood has a PhD. What horrible university did he go to? When you have a thesis, when you have an idea, you run it by other people. Like you go to any Muslim expert and you write him an email. You tell him really nicely, hey, could you tell me, what do you think about this? Do you think this could be interpreted this way? You do your research. Somebody would have written a book on it. But then you find nothing. You find that no academic ever had this theory. So you flush it. You're like, hey, maybe I'm the first one. Okay, let me run it by these guys. And they would tell you, look, we're Arabic speaking. We're non-Muslim. We could tell you it doesn't say that. Like, what an absurd, moronic position. And he went and humiliated himself in front of millions of people. It's crazy. And the thing is, you can't really talk with these guys because the thing is, they're not interested in truth. They're interested in clicking. They're because they have their cult followers. So they're all about this is what Shamun does. He's like, this, therefore that, therefore this, therefore Jesus is God. Hallelujah, Jesus is God. I win the debate. It's like, okay. That's not how debates work. You don't make an argument, then declare yourself the winner. You don't declare your conclusion to be true. That's for the audience to decide. You make your arguments. The other side makes its arguments. We give counterfactuals. We go back and forth. And the audience decides. But he's like literally in the middle of the debate. Therefore, Jesus is God. Hallelujah. Oh, thank you. You just proved Jesus is God. It's like he's making all these non sequiturs over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. But the guy's not listening. He's not listening to counterpoints. He doesn't follow the argument. It's all about clicks. I don't think they could be that dumb. I just think it's about clicks. I don't think they could be that dumb. I think most people are not that dumb. It's just like you're blinded by your need. You're driven by this need to make your group right, to get clicks, to get funding, to get your Patreon, to get your money. Antonio Brown. If you see me, you've seen the Father. I am Coach. You clearly have not read the Bible. Antonio, please, man. Like, I've read the Bible. Okay, I've read the entire gospel. I know it very, very well. Here's what you don't understand. You should research the I ams. Okay, they're highly dubious. How did John hear the I ams without the other gospel writers not hearing that? How come they didn't put the I ams? That's a great question. Okay. And the Gospel of John came 100 years later. It's the least authoritative gospel. That's what you have to understand. You're quoting the weakest gospel, the gospel to prove your most important theological point, that Jesus is God, is based on the most highly dubious gospel. Now, the least dubious gospel is still dubious. That's your whole point. That's what you don't understand. I don't think you want to understand. And it's not me saying it. We ask your Christian scholars, like, tell us about the book of John. Oh, the book of John came much later. It's the most reworked gospel, they say. It's the most reworked gospel. It's the gospel that changed the most. It's the gospel that's least authoritative. John, by the way, guys, Antonio, John has Jesus being crucified on a different day. Mark, Matthew, and Luke have Jesus on one day prior. John has him on one day later. Jesus in the Gospel of John is crucified on a different day. I got that backwards. It's John's earlier. Jesus in the Gospel of John is crucified on a different day. John disagrees with the Synoptic Gospels. They can't agree on the day. And it's supposed to be the most documented event in Christianity. They can't agree on what day it happened. So that brings into question everything else. What else did he get wrong? There are many inconsistencies with the Synoptic Gospels. And here's another thing, Antonio. You have to answer the Synoptic problem. Why are the three Gospels copied word for word? If Matthew was literally there, look, so you have the book of Mark written first, and then you have the book of Matthew. Matthew is the name of the tax collector that followed Jesus. If Matthew was there, why does he have to copy from Mark? Because he copied from Mark word for word. If you were hanging out with Jesus, would you copy somebody else who wrote a story about Jesus who wasn't there? Mark wasn't there. There's no Apostle Mark. So they asked the question. Scholars ask, why would Matthew, if it's really Matthew, why would he copy a guy who got a story who wasn't there? That makes no sense. That would be crazy. And here's the other thing. Why are they copying from one another? Matthew's clearly copying Mark, and Luke is clearly copying Mark. They're copying each other. If you read the Greek translation, it's word for word. Now, when they translate it, they don't translate it word for word. But if you look at the original scripts, it's word for word. So this is a major problem that scholars have tried to explain. If guys are eyewitnesses, why would they copy each other? That makes no sense. So are they just guys compiling stories that they heard around they weren't there. They were not witnesses to these stories. Salam, coach. Watch Aspinall versus Orlovsky fight. Aspinall seems only comfortable being the hammer. He slowed down significantly after 1 30-second flurry. That's from Polo May. I would have to watch that fight. I didn't watch that fight. I haven't seen that fight, so I'll definitely take a look at it. Thank you for that suggestion, Polo. The news are saying Diddy is running the jail. That's from Nelson. That could be. Could be. He might be like really rich and he's got all the commissary and he's running the jail like a mob boss. Michael Venom Page reverted to Islam, coach. That's from Tanvir. Is that true? Let me look that up. Oh, look at this. Great news. Wrestling is fans share reaction to Michael Venom Page embracing Islam. Well, salam alaikum to Michael Venom Page. It does seem to be true. Michael Venom Page has embraced Islam, mashallah. Mashallah, look at that. Yeah, I know. It seems like it's true. Well, salam alaikum to Michael Venom Page. And yes, 7 Shara doesn't know what he'll throw next. Okay, it's kind of like some type of marketing article, but it does seem to be true. So, salam alaikum to Mr. Michael Venom Page. Coach, do you think Marcus Aurelius would be inclined to believe in Islam if he was exposed to it? He was very similar views as us. That's from Yaz. Yes, I think he would. I think if he understood Islam, he would embrace Islam. I definitely think he would. MVP's wife is Muslim. That's from Burida. Okay, can very well be, guys. I don't want to pry into the man's personal life. Bro, it's absolutely silly to say God could not incarnate into this realm. That's from Elliot. Look, guys, it's true. God can do anything he wants. Okay, that's not the reason why Islam rejects that Jesus is God. Okay, I know a lot of Muslims say that, but the Quran never says that. The Quran never says God could not come into this world as a man. It doesn't say that. The Quran is telling you, look, these are things they took from other religions, which is true. If you look at other religions, God had relations with humans, and the humans gave birth to part man, part God, and there's all sorts of stories. And then, or a man becomes elevated to the level of God, or there's all sorts of similar stories. Islam rejects all that. God is something beyond this world. Okay, it's not someone you meet. It's not a human being. Because here's the thing. Remember what I was telling you guys all the time. I teach you guys the difference between compound and simple and mixed ideas. Okay, nobody believes in Santa Claus. Okay, but Santa Claus is made up of things that are real. Okay, men exist, the color red exists, sleighs exist, reindeer exists, flying exists. All these things exist. You know, you saw the color red. You were born. You saw the color red. You met a human being. He was a man. You saw a reindeer. You saw a sled. You saw a bird flying in the sky. Then you mixed all those ideas together and you made up Santa Claus. All the ideas you have in your head, all the things that make up the ideas you have in your head exist. We've talked about this many times, so I'm not going to go too deep. So I have the idea of God in my head. It has to exist. God has to exist. Guys, I'm not going to go into Descartes now. I've done it many times in the past, but you can't think of one thing in your head that doesn't exist. All you can think of is a collage of things that make up something that doesn't exist. Okay, so I can make up the spaghetti monster in my head, but spaghetti exists. Monster just means I made a collage. Okay, so for instance, I've never seen a pink sun, but I can imagine a pink sun. I saw the color pink, I saw the sun, and now in my mind I can mix them together. I saw a man, I have an innate belief in God, now I mix them together. The Quran is telling you don't do that. Don't associate anything with God. There's a story of Abraham in the Quran that it depicts that. Okay, so Abraham's it's like, oh, this is God, that's God, and then he realizes, no, none of this. You can't associate partners with God. You can't mix anything with God. Okay, so to speak. So what is it to mix yourself with God? Because the white man paints Jesus as white. The Asian man paints Jesus as Asian. The black man puts Jesus as black. Everybody thinks he's God. Oh, the Greeks mixed the idea of God with the thunder and lightning, so they made Zeus. Other Greeks, they mixed the idea of God with love, and they made the idea of the god of arrows. You took your face, you took your own image, and you put the idea of God. Isn't that the most arrogant thing a human being can do? If I go to India, the Christians, they put an Indian Jesus. He's Indian blood. If I go to Portugal, he's Portuguese. Jesus is Portuguese. If I go to Ireland, he's blonde hair and blue eyed. He's redhead. Jesus is a redhead. Everywhere you go, they make Jesus in their image. The Quran is telling you, look, it's not about making God into your image. God is me. I'm God. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm the most important thing in the world. That's the worst thing you could do. We're saying, look, God is up here. We're down here. That's how you worship God. That's how Jesus worshiped God. He went down and they say he prostrated on his face. Well, if he's God, what is he praying to himself? Now they're going to say, well, that's his human side. Okay, I get it. He's 100% human, which means he's totally not God. But he's also at the same time 100% God, which is totally not human. This would be a contradiction. But since you're talking about God, maybe God supersedes logic in every possible way. I understand that. Well, what I'm telling you is the sources are highly dubious. You're making incredible claims on highly dubious texts. They're highly unauthentic. So I'm telling you is now you have to resort to your innate beliefs. Like, what makes logical sense? Would God send me a super dubious text to give me a version of a ancient religion that came from the pagans? I think it's nonsensical. Okay, guys, we're 2 hours and 40 minutes. Let's end it on the fun one, guys, please. I didn't know I went this long. It's almost 1 a.m. Goodness gracious. All right, guys, hit me with a fun one. Let's close this one. Guys, listen, I don't want to be negative on anybody's religion, okay? But I'm just saying, look, we have disagreements. I like to have a polite discussion. I hope it was polite. I hope I didn't offend anybody. Especially when it comes to this topic, because I know it's a very sensitive topic. We all have our beliefs. Look, if you're being honest, then be honest. Be Christian. You want to be, if you think that's the honest answer, that's your prerogative. But guys, be mature about it. I think you got to be mature about it. Okay, you have your beliefs. I have my beliefs. Your way is your way. My way is my way. And that's it. We'll see. We're all going to die. We're all going to meet God. And let's see. God's going to sort it out. Why are you so worried about ragdolling me? Why are you so worried about putting it in my face? You know, I've heard all about Christianity. You don't have to come here and convince me. You've heard all about Islam. If you're being honest, that's it. That's all it is. There's no need to like animosity. Let's wait. Let's wait to see what happens. If you can make a fight, if you can make any fight you want, any man, dead or alive, which fight would you make? That's from Anas. Okay, guys, we're going to end it on this one. What fight will you make? Guys, help me out in the chat. Give me some names. You know what? I'd want to see Bruce Lee in action. Man, any fight, anybody, dead or alive. I think I'd have to have Bruce Lee. Could you imagine I was throwing a pay-per-view with Bruce Lee, the Dragon, versus who? Versus who? That's the question. Guys, Bruce Lee versus who? Dead or alive? Sun Tzu? No, he was a war general. Chuck Norris? No. Genghis Khan versus Napoleon Bonaparte. Genghis would determine you one. Miyato Musashi. Oh my goodness, that's a good name, Yaz. That's a good name. Plato versus Bruce Lee. Plato was a wrestler. That would be quite interesting. Man, you guys have some good names. Bruce Lee versus Brock Lesnar. Oh my God, that's be way too dangerous. Jean-Claude Van Damme. No. Oh my God. Michael Jackson versus Michael Jordan. No, goodness, no. Hitler. Bruce Lee versus Hitler. Oh my God. Could you imagine if Hitler wins? Oh my God. That would be depressing. Bruce Lee versus Jake Paul. No thanks, Tuxedo. I should ban you for that. I should ban you for at least a year. No, please. No Jake Paul fight. Jet Li. Nah. Faraz Zahabi versus GSP. Hitler versus Stalin. Oh my God. Alexander the Great versus Khabib. Alexander was a war general. He's not a fighter. I mean, he fought on the battlefield, sure, but he was not a hand-to-hand combat athlete. Trudeau versus Coach. No, slap yourself, man. Come on. That wouldn't last a minute. Come on, that wouldn't last 30 seconds. Rampage. No, it would have to be another elite name. Mike Tyson 2024. Goodness gracious, no. Who would we put? Bruce Lee's got to be on one end of the fight. It's got to be one. It's got to be Bruce Lee. Too much hype, too much controversy over Bruce Lee. I'm picking Bruce Lee in there, but I need a counterpart that's just as good. Achilles. No, Achilles is just a fictional character, most likely. Oh, come on, guys. You don't have a good name for Bruce Lee? Come on, man. The original Gracie. Maybe Hoist Gracie. That would be epic. Hoist Gracie versus Bruce Lee. Nah, Bruce Lee versus Kuaklai. Most people don't know Kuaklai. Steven Seagal versus Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee would destroy him. Bruce Lee would sidekick him in the knee and just break him in half. Nah. Bruce Lee versus who, guys? Versus who? Man. Lee versus Rogan. No, Shia, no. There's just nobody good enough for Bruce Lee, man. There's no counterpart that big. There's no hype that big. Man, there's no other hype as big as Bruce Lee. That's crazy. Manny Pacquiao? How about Bruce Lee versus Manny Pacquiao? Kicks and everything. MMA. Manny Pacquiao. Oh, you know what? No, I got it. No. It'll be Pacquiao. Ali versus Bruce Lee. I don't know if that's too fair. That actually, you know what? MMA fight. Ali. Ali's a heavyweight though. Ali's a heavy. We need somebody smaller. Excuse me. All right, guys. I would go Royce Gracie versus Bruce Lee. Mega fight. Fight of a history. Of a human history. Royce Gracie versus Bruce Lee. MMA fight, no time limit. That would be it. Guys, make sure to check out jujiclub.com. Use level up 50 off and get 50% off anything on jujiclub.com. I will be releasing the half guard video next week. Okay, guys, so keep an eye out for the half guard video. It's going to be out next week. Thank you all for tuning in, my friends, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.